Alright, so... Oh my goodness, look at this. Yeah, I got the leaderboard up because I haven't actually looked at it. And I wanted to see how far ahead Van was for this month. And to be honest, I very much doubt that anyone's going to catch up today because it's the last day of the month for the Trivia Lore Master. And obviously, this leaderboard's everyone's going to go back to 0 at the end of the stream. And then we start fresh for September. Who knows? We might have a different Lore Master next month. Who knows? Van is a pro at this, so it'll take some beating, I think, for anybody to potentially catch up with Van. We'll have to see, won't we? It's humid here. We go walks every morning. I can't tell if I'm sweating or just soaked from humidity. Oh my goodness. So you go on walks, but it's absolutely boiling. You're brave, because I'd hate walking in the hot weather. What's on your plate today? Well, we'll see, won't we, guys? We'll see. Ah, cute kitty emote. But yes, in fact, to be honest, I feel like giving it to Van right now. But we'll wait until at the end of the stream to give you the Lore Master role. Something to get excited about. Because what the Lore Master role is, guys, if you're not sure... I mean, it does say up in the corner on one of the banners, so that gives a little bit of a peek. But it's just a Discord role reward that will be like placed above blood drops in the Discord. So Van will have a brand new colour, something to make you stand out, ideally. And it'll change. That role changes every month depending on who tops the leaderboard the last day of every month with our Raindrop Chronicles trivia. Cool, yay. I'm sure I'll try hard for next month too. I have a theory, and I'd like to be proved wrong, but my theory is that Van will be a Lore Master for a long time. Because I can see you know, or how things are going, doing decently on that leaderboard each month, I have to say. Because who knows, some people might become lore nerds themselves. I wanted to exercise, so every morning 7 AM I get up and go. Well, that's I need to learn from you. I need to start doing that myself. I'm very, very bad when it comes to exercise. Very bad. Yay! Yay! Hi Pooh! Okay, guys, we've got lots to chat about. Got some stuff to talk about. Unless Mr. Radio and Kung sneak in and steal it. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? You might be super busy at work next month and don't get a chance to answer any of the questions, and then someone else can sneak in. Nobody knows what the future holds. We could have a new person join the stream who becomes obsessed with the lore. Who knows? Who knows is literally my, motto now as a streamer, because I feel like it's the thing I say the most, ever. I get up 5 days a week and work out, just take a break on the weekends. How do you guys stay disciplined, when it comes to exercise? Because I'm the sort of person that's like, I'm going to do it. I tell myself I'll do it, but I never bother. Just never bother. I end up just sitting at my computer instead. I don't. You don't? Sounds to me like you've got a good routine going now, Rav. Sounds to me you have. Literally, you've just done exercise once for 3 minutes in the last several weeks, and that's because I forced myself to, because I felt really sluggish. So I forced myself to, but I haven't done it since. Doctor, thank you so much for that follow. Dr. Adam, welcome to the stream. Good to meet you. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday. Winter makes it hard, too damn cold. Oh, interesting. See, I think the other way around, that winter, I want to get warmed up. So I'll find I want to move myself more just to get warmed up. Whereas in the summer, I'm like, oh. And I'm extra lazy in the summer. I just lie down all the time in the summer. It's easy for me to stay disciplined because I see so many around me with health problems. I've been a lot healthier since I have been doing morning workouts. Yeah, like I'm one of these people, like I don't have problems with my weight. I have a fast metabolism, so I can get quite lazy because I feel like I don't need to work out, but it's very wrong, very false way of thinking, because just because you're not overweight doesn't mean you're healthy. So I need to make sure I start doing it more. I was born in the... Oh, winter is too damn cold, is it? Yeah, I'm curious now how cold your winters are over there, because ours get pretty cold in the UK. And I just have my electric blanket when it gets super cold. I can't live without it. I work out inside, weights, body weight workouts, Zumba, I do it all inside. I'd have to do it inside because I'm a hermit. I couldn't imagine going outside and exercising in public, no way. At most I'd do a walk outside, but no way would you catch me doing anything like exercise outside or running. Makes my mind feel less fuzzy when I start coding. Yeah, it's very, I think it's meant to be good, like for you, like your energy, and it gets you pumped for the day. Is that the word, pumped? So yeah, as us as creatives, I think that can be beneficial as well. I mean, I don't really struggle in terms of getting motivated and productive because I like super enjoy what I'm doing. But I think it can help give you that extra like energy for the day. -10 degrees Celsius. Oh, yeah, once it gets into the minuses, that's quite bad. I started gaining weight and didn't notice, then I got on a scale one day and went, oh my, getting older does have an effect, your metabolism slows. See, everybody told me that. Everybody was like, when you hit 30, you're gonna get up, you're gonna put weight on. Haven't I'm the same. I'm literally the same weight. Probably just maybe half a stone more since I was like 14. Probably put on just half a stone since, if that. So maybe in a few years it'll change. Maybe I'm just a bit delayed. You're lucky, yeah. I mean, maybe it's genetics. I look at my parents and they don't have problems in that regard either. So maybe I'm just blessed. Maybe I'm just lucky. But in general, I think I look quite young for my age anyway. Like my face is quite young. I don't really have an older face, so. My girlfriend has trouble losing weight. I can lose slowly if I walk 5k steps a day. For her, she has run 15k steps a day to lose it now. Everybody is different. Like my sister probably struggles more than I do as well, and it's really weird, isn't it? It's a weird thing. I mean, I don't struggle eating at all. I have my snacks, I have my yummy foods all the time. I get hungry quite fast. I definitely don't hold back in enjoying cakes and chocolate and all that thing. And I feel very lucky. I feel very lucky there. Guys you lose weight easier usually. Oh really? Damn them. Damn you. Well, not that it matters to me, but that still sucks. Kyla, thank you so much for that. Host, was that a host, I say? How are you doing today? Happy Monday. We're having a pre-stream chats about exercise and weight and all those fun real life things that people do that I don't do, that I should. I get too obsessed with my work and computer doing this project. It becomes a bit of an obsession sometimes. I do actually think sometimes I'm obsessed with this project, but that's a good thing, right? Better than not wanting to do it. Shelter, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. It's good to see you. Hope you're having a good day. Our PC and NPC don't have to worry about weight loss. I know. They're the luckiest little beans here. They are. If it was The Sims, then yeah, they would have to watch themselves. Oh my gosh, now I'm remembering our chats about EA games last stream. I really went off on one, didn't I? About how much I dislike EA. Yes, I do. I don't like the big, greedy corporations, folks. I don't like that at all. Alright, so... yeah, I'm going to keep the leaderboard here. I don't know if we're going to do any trivia today because, on all honesty, I don't think anyone's going to catch up. I'd probably be more inclined to do a few more trivia questions today if it was close. Because we want to save some of those questions, you know, we don't want to have to keep having using all our precious questions up, so we might save it for next time. Currently eating a Belgian cream filled bun and you're all talking about exercise. Yeah, well, don't you hold back eating now. Cakes need to be eaten, I encourage it. Being productive, just having a little break from coding for right now. Yeah, yes, you need the breaks. I was talking about being obsessed with my project, but I encourage, you know, having the downtime as well. We all need it. Burnout's a real thing. So, you gotta be sensible and wise. You know what's funny? After our conversation about Sims 4, one of my friends brought up the same conversation I've never mentioned. That is so scary. You know, that's a weird thing, isn't it? Because that's happened to me in the past too. And you think, oh my goodness. Very, very odd. It's not like you mentioned it, as you said. Where is a better place to go for a little break, eh? The best place to go for a break is this stream or the cake shop. You know, it's only one of those things. I want a cream-filled bun. Rose, do we have a baker in our NPC list? We need an NPC that makes donuts, magical donuts. Oh my goodness, shall we look at the website and have a look? Because I'm with you right there. And if you have, if any of you notice that we're missing a few like NPC livelihoods, feel free to say in stream and I'll add it to the notepad file. I'm not going to actively edit this on stream because it could distract from what we're doing, but I always tend to have a notepad file open so that I remember and then can add afterwards. But we don't have a baker. Oh my goodness, how could we not have a baker? Have we got anything similar to a baker here? We got a cook, but a cook's different to a baker. So we're gonna have to add baker to our list. So I'm gonna put in my notepad file, add to NPC baker. So if we get any more, you know, feel free to say. I did recently add actor and another one. Actor was added and writer was added as well, because those two livelihoods I felt were cool, that could add a bit of diversity to our NPC list. Definitely need a baker, yeah. Gives us an excuse to make a bakery store in the next village we're in or something. You know, you gotta get those what do you call it, things to spark ideas. And this, what's so cool about this little list here, which you can't see because window capture doesn't show drop down menus, is that it's going to be so good for sparking ideas. Hey Rose, hi Codra, how you doing? Welcome back to the stream. I like that Sephiroth badge next to your name, I have to say. Very snazzy. The K9 looks like so smug, he does, doesn't he? These guys are just the default examples of kind of like what they look like, just so you know what the races are. But you can, like, you know, some of their eyes, features, colours all change. But that's the basic gist of what they look like. Fairies have wider ears than elves. And they also have wings. And dwarves are a tiny bit shorter. Okay, so I can cross that off now. I'm trying to, manage my Google Chrome tabs a bit more efficiently. I'm keeping an actual eye on my task manager because we were having a few little laggy FPS drop issues last stream, especially as we was doing test plays with the game, which we can't have. And I've had a close look, and it's 100% slobs, Streamlabs IBS. That's the hogger of everything. Every other application I have open is kind of nothing compared to what slobs is. And I've decided to start recording my streams at the same time as streaming in hope that it'll help a bit. Because I always record in my streams because I always upload the VODs on YouTube afterwards. It's going to take a bit of extra time to do a Twitch highlight and download that instead, but if it makes us have a smoother stream, then it doesn't really matter. It's worth that. Also, we don't have an herbalist, but that is covered by something else. We actually have a herbalist playable character, so it's interesting because, some of these jobs could be playable character jobs as well, and that's probably why they're not in the list, because if they're actually a playable character class, then they might as well be there instead. Not to say that we can't have other herbalists that aren't playable characters either, but like we said, sometimes we don't want to end up risking having all the submissions be the same thing, so it's cool to encourage just one or two of each thing, so we don't have too many similar NPCs. Yes, it's Finchfish's character that's a herbalist. Pretty cool, unique battle class, right? An interesting one. How that's going to work. We haven't really talked about it yet. I can imagine it being a kind of support or healer class potentially, because with the herbs they could have sort of effects that could give you buffs or healing. Especially because we don't have a healer in the party just yet. We got Van's character who's a priest, and Rex's optional playable character that's a cleric. So there are healers, but they might not necessarily join us very soon. They might not necessarily join. I can't even speak. They might not necessarily join the party early game. We don't know yet. They might not. So, it's always good to know that there's other potential healer classes. And yes, eventually we'll chat more about those playable characters, but only when they join the party, really, because it's very easy to get carried away with what we're not working on. Did we ever verify the differences for the two cleric and priest for the game? I think we should at some point look into that. Because I'm honestly feeling that both Rex and Van's characters Rex is for sure is going to make an appearance in episode 1, because he's part of the whole reptile and human conflict thing that's very much part of the lore of Everbloom Forest and the cave and everything there. So his character's going to definitely make an appearance. Whether it's main quest 3 or 4, we don't know quite yet. And Van's, we need to discuss that, but maybe. And we'll get a proper chance to really research to see the difference. What is wrong with me today? I cannot speak properly. My speech is all okay. We'll get a proper chance to look at the differences when those characters officially enter the story. But if we want to have a little research off stream just to look into it, we can. I think we do with the right classes for those people, but it's always good to make sure and be educated and in the know of the differences, because I don't actually know, other than the cleric uses the mace and the priest is more the staff person, maybe. And did all the cake talk get you distracted? Maybe. It's probably because I'm rambling and talking so too fast. That's probably why. Alright guys. Haven't decided what he's using yet. Yeah, I'd say there's a bit more flexibility with the priest in what so with the cleric, whenever I've seen a cleric in something, it's usually the mace, I believe. I think they're a little bit more. But with the priest, yeah, staff is this one that sticks out to me, but could potentially be creative about it if you don't like the idea of that, unless if it makes sense, of course. We want it to make sense. Is this the game with rain as the currency? That is exactly right, Shelter. You got it. Raindrop Chronicles. Very, very much so. Raindrops is going to be kind of a big thing in our lore. That's why it's called Raindrop Chronicles. So, yeah, pretty cool, huh? Pretty unique. Alright, so I've got a Trello page up here. I'm actually going to just reword that to potential new features, because I don't like to be like, yeah, we're going to definitely have new features. I kind of like to see it as potential new features, because in the near future, maybe when I announce and launch my Patreon alongside the first playable build, we might have stretch goals perhaps, and some of those might involve these features that we've been discussing the last several streams, because some of them are going to be more ambitious to like get into the game than others, and we'll see how it goes. So I will have those potential new features. Hello again. Hi, Saver. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Happy Monday. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You got pirates or sea captains or fishermen? Because of the location we're in at the moment, which is Everbloom Forest, it's a very, very cliffy, waterfall forested area. I'm describing it, but I could just get it up on tiled here so you could all see. We're not anywhere close to the coast where we are here, so we wouldn't have like sea captains or pirates yet. But when we get to a coast beachy place, who knows where that would be located in the world? I don't see why not. Fishermen, I mean, we're by a river, so there could always be that. We've got a stream coming up where we're going to discuss NPCs a bit more, so that'll be fun. That'll be super fun. Just ate breakfast and sent a bunch of emails for school, feeling productive. Oh yay, production hype, productivity hype. That's good to hear. Eva, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. It's good to have you here. Welcome, welcome. Reminds me of Zelda A Link to the Past. Oh, really? Interesting. I take that as a compliment. I've never actually played Zelda Link to the Past. I've heard it's excellent, though. I don't think the game is very similar to it in terms of genre, but it's always a compliment to get compared to a classic. Welcome, though, Eva. It's good to meet you. Hello, I'm so sorry being gone for so long. Life got kind of crazy. Oh, you are fine, Scaly. You know I'm not going to ever get mad at you. Everybody's got lives. How have you been, though? I hope you've been well. Thanks for stopping by, Scaly. How are you today? My friend started using RPG Maker. I told him to check out your VODs for ideas and tips. Oh, really? Well, that's very kind of you, Shelter, that you think of me. Think of me as somebody to watch the VODs of. I appreciate that. And I hope your friend, I hope everything goes well for him and he's progressing okay with his project. Happy Monday! Monday! We should call it Monday, shouldn't we? I'm going to steal your idea, sorta. Because Friday and Monday. And then we've also got Wednesday. That doesn't have the same ring to it, though. But those are the 3 days of stream. I got a chance to see my character and I love the way you made it. Look, yay! Oh my gosh, Scaly. Now you've mentioned that, we have to put you on the stream avatars. So I think this is the command. Because we've got double Rex on the little thing at the moment. It's saying that you're... because what happens is... he's the first one, I think, in the stream avatar. So he comes up as the default one. And once we've done this, you're there forever then. But we have to do it once. That's how it works. And I hope that I've got this command right. Yay! You there now? She's absolutely lovely. She's a purple fairy. I'm wrecked now. Yay! She's so cute. I love her. Indeed, I love her too. And I'm glad you like her. That always makes me happy that you're happy with the look we've given you. I try to always match the characters as closely as I can to the submission form vision. I've got a case of the Munyays. Munyay. Let's make Munyay a good day for everybody. It's not going to be the worst day of the week when I stream on a Monday. I'm thirsty. Alright. Okay, so there's things to chat about. I think I've actually made a note. Okay, so the last couple of streams, since we've finished all the map improvements of Lightfall and Everbloom Forest, what we've currently got, which is all this, eventually the outskirts will probably... you'll see this slowly expand over episode 1's development, but what we've got here is what we currently have so far. And it's amazing. It's all seamless and it runs pretty smoothly. Well, it runs very smoothly actually. Not when I'm using slobs though. But I can say for a fact that because I've looked at the task manager and everything's really fine with the test play in terms of its CPU and memory usage and that. It's all Slobs' fault. So it's working pretty good. And what else have we done? And now we've moved on to interiors since finishing the map improvements, because that's the next task, getting the interiors done. Because there's a few things I wanted to change with them to make them even better than before, so I'm going to have a chat about that in a bit. And thank you very much for that follow, Locks. I appreciate that. Welcome to our nerdy little stream. I made a fun little shooting game for a stream overlay where chat can be a ship and sink each other on Unity. It has the same issue where the last person to join is the first person in next time. Oh really? That sounds lots of fun, Shelter. But yeah, I love the little stream avatars addition to the stream. It's I think it's cute. Gives a bit of cute life to the stream, you know. It would feel empty without that now, because we've had it so long. And I love looking and seeing you guys walking across. One day there's going to be so many of you. It's going to be crazy. In fact, just last week, or was it the week before, it was like packed. There were so many of you walking across last week. Okay, so over the weekend I have decided on something regarding interiors. I was having a mess around and I was not satisfied. I was like, I know about these interiors. And eventually I came to the decision. Where is it? Here it is. I've gone for a 1:1 ratio. It was like double before. So the inside of these buildings before was like double what they look like on the outside, which is fine to do. Some games totally go for that. Look, Stardew Valley is one of them, where they're smaller on the outside, but kind of larger inside. Visually, it makes sense to do that. But I know something didn't sit right for me with it as a visual preference, so I decided to go for the 1-1. So what you see on the outside is the same inside. And at first I wasn't sure if it was going to work. I was like, oh, is it going to be a bit squishy? If it was going to be a bit squishy, I'd have just made the building a bit bigger. No harm done. But I felt because this is Lakefall, it's meant to be like a very humble setting. We're not like, there's no mansions here, let's say that. It's not like, it's not a big place. So having like little wooden shacks, quite small, kind of fits as an early game little tiny village. So it works. Hopefully we can do a test play today so I can show that off without any FPS drops. We'll have to see. I've set it all up in RPG Maker, so if I get RPG Maker up now as well, we'll be able to see that. Here we are. One thing, making it a 1-1 ratio now has made my job easier too, because I don't have to make a separate mini-map anymore for the inside. Because before I had to make new mini-maps that were larger, but now they're the same size, I don't have to make a new mini-map. We can use just the same one that's on the main mini-map. What resolution is the game in? Well, we have 100, I honestly, I'm awful with numbers, please forgive me. 100, I'm embarrassing myself. Let me get it up, because here we go. So this is the resolution we're using. I don't think you can see. 920 and 1080, there we go. I have to actually see the number to remember. That's how my brain works. I don't remember numbers otherwise. So it's 920, 1080. That is like the resolution I use because it's my size screen, but we do have a plugin that is a screen resolution changer. So you can have it as a 720 size as well. Because I'm not into, for our game, I'm not into the default RPG Maker resolution and how it's like a small, tiny thing. It just, because one of the goals for me was to make an immersive game. But one thing we did have to do was use a zoom plugin to make up for the larger screen, because otherwise everything looked super tiny. So visually, I love the look we've got now. Nice. Oh, good. Yeah. I was like, oh my god, what is it? Numbers. Did a blank. And yeah, I don't know what it is by default, actually. I cannot recall what the default RPG Maker resolution is. But yeah, I wasn't sold on the default. For some games it can work totally fine, having that little small screen, but I always wanted a full screen. I wanted a full screen game. Always nice to see which plugins people use. Yes, this is actually a new project file, so the plugins you see here are probably only a quarter of the ones that we use. I'm going to slowly add to the others over the next few months before the first playable build release. But I'm redoing the project again because everything needs a complete tidy up. Everything was a disaster. The Switch's organisation and the events was a mess. So it's all been redone. It only made sense considering we'd done a complete new map improvement anyway and changed the size of it all. So this is the newer project file, and we got rainbow colours as well, rainbow colours, which I'm using for each of the map segments. Okay, and I've also added grey ones, numbered grey ones. We've got 36, 37, 38, 39, they're the transfers. They trigger the transfers to the insides, the interiors. Because if we look at the tile, you'll see that we've got 4 buildings. So those little grey squares that were on the RPG Maker project were the transfers, because I don't want to use events. I want to try and be very careful with my event usage, if I can, especially now that we're using larger maps. So I'm actually using tile IDs to do the transfers now, and they work really cool, because that's what these are. These are all tile IDs. I use a common event that recognises them. Where is it? This one here. So it looks at the X and Y position of the player, and it finds what tile you're treading on based on that. And I use like a parallel event and conditional if statements for that. Very nice. Yay. I figured that would be a good way to do it, because I could so easily get through so many events from these. And it works the same with the insides. I've done that there as well. The number 1, you see, is what triggers the mini-map. So that'll be the Lakefall mini-map everywhere that's marked 1. Everywhere that's marked 2 is Blessed Cascade, Leverbloom Forest. So, because we've got different sub-regions, you see. These are like 6 separate regions of Everbloom Forest. So I want to do a test play just so we can have a little peek. And I'm just praying we don't get lag. Okay. I think we're okay. But as you can see, we got that plugin that changes the screen resolution. The options menu is going to have a complete do-over though eventually, and it's going to look a bit more fancy with more options, because I'm intending on having the UI on and off. You can turn that on and off depending on what you like being visible, because some people like the mini-map showing, others will probably want to hide some things. Rose, you sounds like a true coder now, do I? Yeah, I'm learning things. I'm trying my best to like get my head around things and make sure we have a tidy, optimized project. Because I'm being a bit ambitious with it, you know. Like we was talking about the limitations of RPG Maker, and of course there's limitations. There's only so many variables in the project. There's only so many. You can only use 999 events on a map. Now that's plenty. Absolutely no doubt I'm not going to use 999 events on Everbloom Forest map. And I've heard it starts lagging after a couple of 100 events anyway, so that's why I'm trying to be careful about how many events I'm using. And I think I've used 23 events so far, or 22. So that's not too bad, but we haven't got any NPCs yet. And I think some of those events, I could delete some of them and do a more efficient way of doing it. 816 224 default. The layer graphics one you are using is such a godsend. I rely on it so much. Oh, you mean the Galv plugin layer graphics? If so, if that's the one you mean, that I added that this weekend. I used it. I'm actually using it for an aesthetic reason. It's very subtle, actually, the reason I'm using it for right now, which I'll talk to you guys about in a bit. But I think it'll come in handy for a few things in the future in regards to layers on the maps, just to make them look a little bit more fancy. But yeah, that was the most recent plugin addition. What do you use it for anyway, Coda? I'm curious. But yes, of course, the 280 version is just the same at the moment because it's full screen. But if you take it off full screen, then it does make it the 280 20 size. And because I think it's called Mush. I think the resolution plugin I'm using is called Mush. It does it in a way, the resolution, it changes it so that the positioning doesn't get messed up, which is really handy as well. It keeps everything, I don't know the correct word, but it keeps everything the same no matter what your screen resolution is, which is excellent for me, because then it means I don't have to reposition everything because of resolution sizes. That would be a pain in the ass. Absolutely would not want that. So aspect ratio, yeah, I think that's it. I mean, if we look in the plugin settings just temporarily, I think that plugin actually has a way that it words that. Yeah, set to true if you want to keep the default resolution proportions. And I've got it on true, so yeah, that's what it does. I actually use it for basically all my mapping. I do all my maps in Photoshop. It's only a small game with interior only maps. Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I'm using tile sets again now. I used to use parallax maps, but I switched back to tile sets, and I'm doing them in tiled because it just allows more flexibility for the tile sets. It's too limited, the RPG Maker editor for tiles, I find. But I ended up downloading the layer plugin you mentioned because there was something about the interiors that was really bugging me, and I had to download it to hide something, which I'll explain soon. I'm also going to hide my task manager now, but it looks like we're not getting the FPS drops today. Because we'll see how it goes. I don't want to jinx anything. Also, for some reason, I've noticed this. I'm using a plugin for the Sunbeam. It's a filter effects plugin, which does really nice filters. But for some reason, when in between screens, like when I press new game, you could actually see the filter on the black screen, which we do not want. Because without the filter effects, it looks like this. And with the filter, it just gives a nice like little sunbeam, sun rays. And it does a few other things, a few other filter effects, depending on what sort of look you're after on a scene or a map. But yeah, I do not want that to be happening where it shows it on when it changes screen. That would not be good. If we go back to end game and we'll do it, you'll see what I mean. New game. It didn't do it that time. It's typical, but sometimes it does. You actually see the sun rays on the black screen. Tiled is great too. Yeah, it's wonderful. And I did hear that Tiled is now on MZ. That's it. It's MZ, isn't it? Vagabond posted it in Discord over the weekend that Tiled is now a plugin for MZ, which is very, very good news. I still can't make the switch because I have too many essential plugins I use that are MV only at the moment. And I do not want to give those up because I'm too reliant on those plugins. The game would change too much. But who knows what I would make the switch, but only if all the essential plugins that I need are also on MZ. That is all of them, not just the tiled one. The tiled one being on is definitely positive, but I need to make a spreadsheet. What I'm going to do is make a spreadsheet, and over time I'm going to check if this plugin has been put onto MZ, and if all of them are, that is, because there's no guarantee, I may consider it then, because we are still on the first playable build at the moment, so it wouldn't be too much hassle to just move over. I've heard that MZ's performance is better than MV, which is always a good thing to hear, because there's a few little performance issues with MV apparently. But there's obviously I'd have to outweigh the pros and cons between both, because I don't really know how MZ truly benefits right now. I'm not like getting overly attached with that one because I'm not, the way things are, I won't be moving over to it. Good idea. I think I'll do the same because I kind of want to try the new animation stuff in MZ. Yeah. At the moment, it's unlikely for the game. I'm not going to say impossible, but I'll say unlikely right now because there's a lot of plugins. I did a bit of research over the weekend that nothing's been said about them being moved over at this stage. So only if they're all on there, that is when I would consider it. So, but for anybody who, yeah, I think it'd be a good one for anybody to use if they're not attached to any of the MV plugins. I'm fiddling with MZ since I want to start learning it. Yeah, let me know how it goes. I'll get there. What about you guys? For those that have used MZ or know quite a bit about it, what's the main advantage with MZ over MV, do you feel? Because I'm curious what really how much more worth it is. Because I've heard it doesn't support Linux porting MZ, which is a bit of a bummer for people who want the game put over onto Linux. Dumb question, but what are MZ and MV? They're the current RPG Maker program versions. MV is the one that I use, which came out in 2015, and MZ came out, was it this month? It's the newest, MZ is. That was a recent brand new RPG Maker engine, and the difference between the two is very small from what I've seen, but I have heard that MZ, I don't know which one it is, has some advantages, but I'm not entirely sure what they are because I haven't bought the program myself. I'm not getting attached to it because the likelihood of me switching over is still small at this time. I'd literally need all my essential plugins to be on there. RPG Maker, can it be used to make an MMO? I have heard of somebody that tried. I saw somebody over on the RPG Maker forums doing that. I don't think, from what I've seen, it wasn't an easy task. And the person who was doing it clearly knew their stuff to be able to pull off such a feat. So yes, I guess a little bit of research would be a good thing to do. Hi Rod, how you doing? It's so good to see you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Hope you had a good weekend, Rod. Kind of very small incremental changes, but it performs better. That could be a good enough pro. Yeah, that's the one thing that would make me want to switch, as well as it being the most updated version. But at the end of the day, is it the end of the world if I stay in MV for the next 10 years? I mean, some people out there still use XP, don't they, for their projects. So you don't have to be using the latest one. It's not like a requirement that you have to use the latest one. Whatever tool works for you, yeah. So right now it's a no, unless every single plugin I absolutely need is on there. There's no way I'm going to be sacrificing those plugins just for the sake of moving over to a very similar engine that only has a few little pluses. But for those starting brand new projects, yeah, be a good move. It seems like it's been well supported and lots of people working on plugins and content. Did you get up to anything fun over the weekend? Fun for me is sitting on my butt on this chair right here and sleeping and eating yummy foods. That's fun for me. That is fun though, isn't it, chat, to be fair, let's admit. Hi Dave, are you sneaking in there, Dave? I see you. I nearly missed you though. Theoretically sure, but you'd still need servers and junk. Is that what you're interested in making then, Rav? You're looking to do an MMO? Well, good, glad to hear. Yay. Okay, so I'm glad that the test play is working and we don't seem to have the FPS drops today. Okay, so I've just put this little turning crystal, this green crystal here. That is simply just to spawn the mini map, because I've just put the starting point in the middle of the map. And so here we've got the buildings. And I've kind of made sure I've designed it in a way that the positioning's the exact same with the so the inside looks the exact same as what it is on the outside. And yes, it's small, but it works for Lakefall. The buildings are meant to be little tiny shacks, but it's going to be exciting in the future to make big massive buildings. That's for sure. That'll be fun. And yeah, everything's empty at the moment, but we're going to decorate it. I spent ages, well, all of yesterday and all of Saturday, getting the design in my head of how these interiors would work, because before it was a 1:2 ratio, the size, as I said earlier. The buildings were double the size inside, and to me the transition looked weird and a bit jarring, so I prefer the one. It's a personal preference, it's a preference. It doesn't mean the games that do the 1:2 ratio with the buildings are bad. Absolutely fine, works for a lot of games that I've seen, but for me, I prefer this design. What's going on, Rose? We are having awesome chats, aren't we, guys? That's what's going on. What about you, Dave? I hope your Monday morning is treating you wonderfully. Wanted to stop in and say hi. Hope you have a pleasant evening. Continue to stay safe. Yeah, and you, Rod. Always a pleasure to see you stop in, my friend. My game is meant to be an MMO ARPG. Sounds really fun. I'd love to see something like that pulled off in RPG Maker for sure. I'd love to see someone attempt it. And I know, because I've seen it with myself, someone on the forums was doing such a thing. And I don't know how it worked out for them, but someone was giving it a go. Don't sacrifice your plugins recklessly. Save them to sacrifice to the ancient one. I have a ton of ideas to make it something different, so you're not just grinding like every other MMO. Yeah, unique qualities. I've got some on my lip. Unique features, something that makes your game stand out from the absolute saturation of MMOs out there is definitely something for sure that'll give you a plus. For sure. Standing out is a good thing. Gonna take a few years to build. Yeah, tell me about it. And guys, don't get frightened of a long period of development time. I don't. I say time and time again, Vikes, this is at minimum a decade-long project we've got going here, because it's episodic, and being realistic, the development cycle of each of those episodes is going to be at least 2 years per episode. Probably it's the longest for episode 1 because I'm inexperienced and new to this, and also getting all the framework set up takes a freaking long time. So episode 1 for that reason will have the longest development cycle, but you know, gotta be realistic. Even though it's episodic, the episodes are going to be pretty, you know, full of content. They'll be like mini RPGs in a way. They're not going to be something that's going to be over in just a couple of hours of gameplay time. We're going to fill it with main quests, at least 4 main quests per episode, with, you know, half a dozen, maybe a few more side quests to accompany those. That's kind of the plan. Working through Stormblood, I feel like I'm about halfway through the pre-patch main quest scenario. Ooh. Without spoilers, because I'm not going to spoil anything, I absolutely adored the Stormblood patch content. And then Shadowbringers comes along and kicks absolute butt after that. I didn't see it coming. I was like, after the Stormblood patch content, I was like, nothing's going to get better than this. But then Shadowbringers came. I was like, whoa, nothing's going to get better than this. And it's Final Fantasy 14 just keeps throwing that at you. You keep thinking it's not going to get better than this, but then it does. It's amazing. What made you want to disable using the mouse to move for Raindrop Chronicles? Just personal preference, in all honesty. I wasn't fond of it. I guess it's the retro thing, because the RPGs of old, I've always been used to using controller or mouse and keyboard, right? And having mouse, it kind of takes away that old school feel for me. So there will be controller support with this, because there's a plugin that lets you do that, and I've tested it on there and it's really cool. Can play it with even my, I think with both my fake Xbox controller and my PS3 one. So the controller support will be there, and keyboard support. But yeah, you can have mouse support. That's the thing. I just don't like it personally. It doesn't fit kind of my style for me. And I'm thinking of doing it in the browser only, write it with custom JavaScript. The hard part is make it hard to hack. Oh, interesting. Well, good luck, Rav, and let us know how that goes if you do start it, because it's pretty intriguing. That kind of goal is, for sure. Makes sense, yeah. Do you get where I'm coming from though? Because the mouse support is an excellent thing for sure that was added to RPG Maker, and I feel it for anyone that chooses to do that, fair enough. Accessibility is cool and all, but were there any old school RPGs out there that let you play with the mouse? I'm curious now, like, you know, your Chrono Triggers and them sorts. Long dev cycle is a good reason to only evaluate your engine based on what you're doing now, not what you might look at in 5+ years. I'm bad at that. I might want to do 3D in a few years. I then add complexity to my learning with things I might never need. Also, hey, work lurking. I hope the work lurking's going well, Asriel. Yeah. And for sure, I'd rather say I'm going to be doing something longer than underestimate myself. And I've already said, this is a life goal for me. I wanna be making nerdy games till I'm an 80-year-old woman, guys. So there's no time limit on my hands. I'm not like one of these people that are like, oh my god, this has to be done next year, because this is my life. This is my life. I really like how RPG MO did it. Their site is o.ee. Oh, okay. I've never seen that one. I only know RuneScape that used the mouse. Yeah, same RuneScape. Yeah, and that's an MMO. I feel with MMOs it's completely different. Mouse support in MMOs makes sense because you got to do all the clicking stuff, and there's the toolbars, the hotkeys, you know, all that thing. I know some people just use the keyboards to do them, but I'm one of these weirdos that actually use my mouse to do those things. So for certain games, you know, it wouldn't make sense without a mouse. But yeah, imagine playing the old Final Fantasies and stuff with a mouse. It just feels weird, you know, for me. Anyone that wants to do that, cool for them. I'm not one to judge people's design choices. But once you add the mouse, it adds more testing and more complexity, and certain things make the mouse weird, and, you know, it's just another extra thing you gotta deal with. It's old school pixel art, and the game is essentially limitless because skills level up exceptionally. So after 60, it's really time consuming to level up, but the effort makes it worth playing. Oh, okay. You're not weird. I use my mouse for games too. Even Final Fantasy 14, I use a mouse and keyboard. Yeah. So I actually use my controller now for Final Fantasy 14 because I've got really into the swing of it. Plus, I switched to PS4 for playing 14. I used to play it on Windows, and I used my mouse and keyboard then, but no. But actually, the controller support for 14 is really good. I was impressed because I didn't think it would be. Chub Cheeks! Oh my goodness me! Thank you for the 28 months. Guys, we should have some hype in chat for that ridiculously massive number of months. Thank you for that huge amount of support, Chub. 28 is a big number. It's 2 years and 4 whole months. My goodness me. Thank you so much. How are you, Chub? How have you been doing? I hope you had a good weekend. And thank you for the hype, everybody. Appreciate it. So yes, other than like between last stream and this stream, the only real thing I've altered is the fact that the interiors are now the same inside as they are outside. So whatever the buildings look like from now on in Raindrop Chronicles, on the outside the insides are going to match. It's an interesting challenge. I kind of like it. Also, you can walk behind the buildings now. Before you couldn't, and there was a reason I decided to do that as well. Oops, yeah, this is something I need to do. I need to make sure that has a region collision mark on it. I've done it for all the other bits, but because I made the buildings. Okay, it was because the insides, the interiors, it's actually only 3 pixels in width, really, because that's wall right there. So you got to kind of imagine that the wall is behind here. And also, there was another thing. We was thinking about NPC daily routines. And for example, there's going to be an NPC behind this counter. I'm thinking of moving the counter back a bit, like half a tile as well. So I think it's probably a little bit too close to this end. An NPC is going to be stuck behind there. So I was thinking of putting a back door or something behind his side where the counter is, so that they can come out of that back door and like come down here and do other things during their day. Because let's face it, if they're just stuck behind there 24/7, not a problem. Many RPGs do that. They just have NPCs stuck behind the counters for the rest of all eternity. But there's been discussion of a potential in big letters here, a potential like sort of almost like a daily routine cycle for our NPCs in the game. And if that's the case, they're going to do more, the people in the shops, than just stand behind the counter all day. So that's why I thought, like, obviously there need to be some kind of back door there so they could go in and out of the building and like do other things, like perhaps go into the cafe, talk to NPCs that are standing around, maybe even go outside as well, perhaps. I like the collision of your character, and the table would look better if they could stand close to the table. Oh, you mean the counter? Yeah, the counter's unfinished. There's far too much. I can't speak today. There's far too much room on the opposite side, so I'm intending to move it back half a tile. And can you walk closer? I have to work on the collision stuff because it's all interior stuff is very much 0% done at the moment. Even the colours aren't how they're going to look, by the way. The walls are probably the right colour, but the wood on the floor might change a bit. So it's more similar to this overlay here where you guys are walking, perhaps. Okay, so yeah, don't like look on the inside and think that's the finished product, guys, because we're very early days here. I've kind of got the look, the sizing of the interior how I want it, and like the transition between outside to inside is sort of there, because I wanted to, my goal was for the character to be in the same spot when it transitions over, so I didn't want them moving and then all of a sudden at the other side of the screen, because that would be a bit jarring for the immersion. Also, there's something else. I was like, know what I'm gonna say and I can't think. Looks good though, definitely has that old school vibe. Thank you very much, that is Rav. I was just gonna need to call you Zava then, because Zava spoke just after you. Somebody said that on our Twitter the other day when we did the picture game, someone said that it makes them like feel huge nostalgia. And that's always a compliment, because that is definitely something we're trying to do here. Like, this is an old school kind of feel. I like the sunrise. Yay, that's good to hear, Zava. It's a filter effect. You can actually disable the filter effect in the menu, and it might improve performance doing that. To be honest, I see no difference between when it's on and off, but my PC's okay. I was saying it was an old lady the other day, but it's actually behaving itself today. So as you can see, like with the mini map as well, the player indicator goes inside as well, so you can see the positioning inside as well. See, we can actually walk under at the moment. The counter collision is very not right. Also, I want to make it not as straight there. I want it to go up a little bit higher, perhaps. So, another thing that I realised as well, because if we're going to go with the potential feature of like daily routines with the NPCs, I personally think, like, my feelings with daily routines and that is that it just really makes the towns and cities just feel more alive and like a real city or a real village. There's something about when NPCs just stand rooted to the spot and only talk like the same dialogue over and over again. There's something a bit, you know, it works in some games, like the old games and that, but I kind of want to push this further. So I would love to. I mean, I don't know how complex it's going to be for me yet, because I haven't even attempted. But I would at least like to make a little go of it and see where we can take a potential daily routine thing. And as I was thinking about that over the weekend, I was like, where the hell do these guys sleep? That kind of crossed my mind, because the houses are too small, right? Nobody sleeps in there. We've got the inn, but that's mainly for the business side of things, not for the actual citizens. That's more for people coming in and out. So one idea sprung to my mind about where they could sleep. Hammocks. Hammocks. Because there's loads of trees. And it's a foresty little place. And it's super humble. And, you know, there's something about the feel of this that I feel hammocks could work. Because we don't have the space, like, there's no actual real houses here. There's just shops, in all honesty. So that was one thing I considered, and actually found some hammock assets online as well, and I was like, they could look pretty cool, like in between our trees. It will give more personality to Lakefall as well, like give it a little bit more memorability. Because you got to consider things like this. It really makes the world building and lifestyles of the people of the world more real when you think about where they sleep, what they eat, what they do every day, rather than if you don't think about any of those things whatsoever. So I'd love us to go all out there and really make it a believable place where people are living. Hi National, how you doing? All these buildings look like they have second floor. You could place some inaccessible stairs behind the counters to simulate where people go to sleep. Yeah, like they are pretty small. I mean, what we see inside is really literally what it looks like on the outside. It's the exact same. So the area here is the exact same as the outside. So thinking about floors and stairs is definitely something that's going to be considered. I don't know if I want to think about it this early on. I'm trying to think now because I think it's possible, but in all honesty, if we was going to do that, we'd have to make the buildings taller, even taller than they are. They'd have to like be double. And yeah, we could totally do that, but there's something I like about the hammocks. It gives something unique to the village, and there's just something very, what's the word? I'm thinking of a word to describe it, but I can't think. Like very old, like way of life. It's uncultured kind of thing. It's not the norm. And I think it kind of fits for this forest because it's very much different to the big city where people probably do have proper bedrooms. So I kind of liked that to like enhance the whole foresty kind of setting we've got here. Hi One Chubby Panda, how you doing? It's good to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. But I guess we'd have to think where they'd go if we were going to have them. And there was one place in particular I saw get tiled up. Particularly the lines of trees here where they're closer together, hammocks could easily fit on those. And that would give us the option to expand Lakefall so it's larger at this top side here. Because we've talked about potentially adding to the maps and filling in these grey bits as well. You like my hair? You like my piggy tails? Thank you very much. Hi Neffel, how you doing? Seems so, yeah, that how you describe it there, like, is exactly it. Like, it's hard to put my finger on what's special about that, but there's something very cozy about it, you know? Like, it's so far removed from our way of life and other villages and city that we might see later on in the game that will be like your traditional houses where people sleep. And to do something that's a little bit different to that, to give a bit of diversity, kind of is something I'm interested in. To make all the villages unique from each other and all the cities unique for each other, all these different settings and themes. And by having like a hammocky forest village, it'll be like another world to the next place we village that will probably be more your traditional farm town where people actually sleep in houses there. Morning Rose, morning chat, how are you doing Zaxi? So yeah, the whole sleeping thing just came to my mind. I was like, you know, NPC daily routines, they're certainly not going to just be stuck behind the shop counter 24/7. These people are going to, you know, go to the tavern after a hard day of work. They're going to maybe have a wander around the forest. They might talk to each other. They might sit by the lake. They might pay their respects to the graves. They might go in other buildings. They might, and then they'll go sleep in their hammocks. How are you doing today? I'm doing decently, Neffel. How are you doing? How was your weekend? Doing good, just woke up waiting for coffee. Oh, what coffee have you got, Zexy? I had a latte today. Lattes are my go-to. Nearly 200 raindrops. Are you excited, sorta? So yes, it's on the cards. Hammocks are on the cards, guys. So you might see a few hammocks added to the setting eventually. It's not like 100%, like we're gonna have hammocks, like it's not 100% yet, but it's definitely something I'm considering just because I like it. I think it'll add a lot to the setting. And I personally think it'd be quite cute to see the animations of them just like hopping onto their hammocks. Oh yeah, we got swings here. Excuse to make, I mean, that might be a challenge, making swing animations, but you never know. We'll see. Flat White Gang. I love collecting the raindrops. It's addictive, isn't it? I could imagine it being addictive anyway. Okay, so is there anything else I need to discuss? So I've talked about that the interiors are we've now got the design for the interiors. Because last stream I was kind of really like conflicted about the interiors. I was like, I don't know if I'm sure about this. It just didn't sit right with me with how there was before. So making them smaller inside so they're realistic in proportion to the outside, I think works. And it only works because Lakefall is meant to be very like small wooden shacks anyway. If this was a bigger city with more realistic sized houses, we'd have had to have made the buildings larger to compensate. We'd have had to, because it wouldn't work in a normal sized house having them be that tiny on the inside. And yeah, we've got to, I want to recolour the interiors, do the tidying up, because it don't look perfect in there, and then just add all the decorations inside. Just homebrewed coffee, but I have some chocolate caramel creamer that makes the coffee kind of taste like cocoa. That sounds absolutely delicious. I feel like making a coffee Discord channel now. We can just put it in random pics. I might take a picture of my latte when I next have one and stick it in there. Besaid Island is one of my favourite tracks to relax to. Yeah, was that one Unjust? Yeah, it's a good one. I absolutely love the Final Fantasy X soundtrack, and I love how the Mount Gagazat track sounds so similar to the Besaid theme. Like it has the same motif and stuff. It's really, really nice. All the best music I play on this stream. Alright, so what's on the cards then? So I'm trying to do everything in order. I'm trying to not get carried away and get ahead of myself and be like, okay guys, main quest 3 today, because I'm trying to be sensible and do everything slowly now that we're starting a new project file. But I say that, but I would like a brainstorm stream maybe sometime next week or the week after. I'm not sure on what yet out of all these things, but I think it'd be fun. But all it will be is discussion at this stage, not any implementation. Don't expect any implementation of all this stuff on this list here until the new year or December at the earliest. Okay, so one thing we do have to do, get these scenes done. That's kind of the priority right now, which is why I needed to get the interiors sorted, because in main quest 1 that the scenes happen in two of those interiors, the inn and the cabin. So we can start the inn, but I'd like to get the insides done, but I don't know, because I'm one of these people that spend forever doing the decorating and all that kind of thing. So we could always get Nigel Bookington's dialogue added in game, because I don't know how many of you have actually seen that dialogue, because it was a very early stream 10 or something when that dialogue was added. And I totally, before doing some adjustments to that dialogue, to like freshen it up a bit, make it even better than it was. I'm trying to think, have I got it anywhere? Have I got it on Draw.io, or did I just... Because I think back in the day I just wrote the dialogue directly into the RPG Maker editor back then. I didn't actually do a dialogue thingy-majig for it. So I'm going to open Draw.io and see if we did have one for Nigel Buckington, and I'm pretty sure we didn't. Episode 1, part 1, is that it? Hi Drago, how you doing? So good to see you. Okay, so this is the very beginning. Should we get rid of the grid? Episode 1 begins scene 1. Hero arrives in Lakefall and pokes their head out of the barrel they hid in to get there. Get out, gives Hero a wallop. So gross. Nobody's ever been Simon before. I feel so violated. I can't believe how long I was forced to tolerate you on that cart. Now get out of my sight. Okay guys, who here has not seen that scene? Because we have a tweet for it if you haven't. It's on our old map though. I did implement this scene into our latest project file last week, so I can always do a test play and show you guys that, but we did do a screenshot Saturday of that scene. Here it is. So it's the exact same as it is there. Well, sort of. It's a little preview of there you go guys. That's a link to the Raindrop RPG Twitter and the actual clip of this very first scene in the game. So that has been implemented now. I still have to implement this part though. So I'm going to try and do that this week, this scene here, where Carol actually joins the party and is like, I'll come with you. She's like, wait up flashback. So as soon as you walked over the bridge of Lakefall, Carol's gonna yell to you and be like, wait up flashback, and she'll be like, you voided my extended warranty, you're not going anywhere without me, you're responsible for covering any damages I suffer now. People loved that dialogue line, that's why it's there. And after the hero wins the first battle, Carol's like, I should be your inventory. You can put all the items you find inside me. You won't get jealous of them, will you? Carol's weird. She's a weird one, she is. So I am interested in everybody's thoughts with this Carol dialogue. I've even got here, insert barrel curse word exclamation up here, because it felt like something had to go there, but I wasn't sure what. So that's still a question mark at this time. Feel free to give your thoughts if there's anything that you feel could do with a freshen up or an amendment. I'm all for that. So scene 1, Carol the Barrel part 1 complete. I'm also I'm going to say still to do, because we're redoing the scenes, aren't we, for our new project file, our new better project file with our new improved map. This was in progress because I've done the like scene. I made sure that was done for our trailer, but we still got to do the cabin part because we haven't finished the cabin interior yet. Right, so the flashback itself, the Carol the Barrel flashback, was done on our old map, but it isn't done on the new one. So I'm just changing all these now. So we've only really done scene 1 so far. those two are in progress. Okay, so episode 1 still seems still to add in this page. Yes, so actually we'll oh, actually that one was the complete one. So I'm going to mark that one as complete, and I'm also going to say that is not started because we haven't actually done the cabin bit. But it's going to be much more organised and tidier, having these scenes on the new map compared to the old one. It's going to just be, they're going to work more seamlessly as well. I know I've seen it. Alternate ending idea. Carol was a grifter and con woman the entire time. She obsesses with you items and raindrops, leaving you destitute while she retires into luxury. Yeah, I mean, Carol's an interesting one because she's certainly got the attitude. I mean, my goal for Carol is her to have that sort of Sunday charm that we can't resist, even though we get annoyed by it. Carol the Barrel, she's like in all honesty, the main character of the story, and she's probably going to have so many different endings, isn't she? Because Raindrop Chronicles, we're going to have multiple endings, no doubt about it. Some Carol endings will be shockingly epic, some will be heartbreaking, and all in between. And based on how you shape your hero and their morals, she'll behave differently, you know. I could definitely imagine hating your guts in certain playthroughs, you know, if you cross her. So let's get that in. Okay. So I'm gonna make the scenes that we've complete white, so just so they stand out. I want to get Nigel Buckington's dialogue in, so that, and then we can add it to the scene in RPG Maker, because that's really the next scene to do. So we've done scene 1. I want to do this in order. Well, I've kind of done it in order. I did cheat and do the Fiona Buckington scene early, but that was because I really wanted it shown in the trailer. Okay, so scene 1 done, and we'll do a test play of that. I'll start the game and we'll do a test play and show that off on the new map at some point. The new version actually doesn't have the other barrels there that it has in the clip. It's just Carol herself. I'm still not sure whether it's better with loads of barrels there or just Carol's barrel, because I kind of like Carol being unique. Not just, yeah, I'm thinking about it. Which program is this, Rose? This is Draw.io, but it got renamed to Diagrams.net. It's kind of what we've stuck to for writing dialogue in, but I have considered switching to something like Twine. I think it's called Twine. But I'd have to get my head around that first and how to use it. This is kind of pretty easy to just get straight into. But yes, this is... And hi Flav, how you doing? I just noticed you come in. How dare I miss you coming in? Hope you're having a good day. Alright, so I'm not gonna like dilly-dally with getting these Nigel Buckington boxes in. I'm going to try and get them in quite fast, so I'm not going to worry about making it look too pretty at this stage. but I think I'd like to get it added before we implement it into the engine, because I want you guys as a community to potentially give feedback on this Nigel Buckington dialogue as well. I mean, it's the very first dialogue of the game, so we want it to be decent. We don't want it to be amateur. And if there's ever the potential to like make it more entertaining, I'm all for that. And we can chat about a bit about Nigel. Oh my goodness, what is going on here? I didn't copy, but all I want to do is move it down, in all honesty. This is when I realised Draw.io is a pain in the butt, because it can be a pain to use sometimes. This is probably why I want to switch to another eventually. There we go. Is it behaving itself now? Thank you. Everything moved down tidily for once. Okay, so I'm not going to get too fussy about tidiness with this. We'll just get it in. So scene 2, I'll zoom in a sec so you can all see properly, because I don't know if you can. Get that in first. But yeah, we can chat about Nigel. We can get his personality sort of shown as, and talk about his character, because him and his sister Fiona are the main quest 1 and 2 quest givers, right? So they are one of the few NPCs we have started to talk about and discuss briefly, because they're in the game already. They've been implemented. So we haven't made profiles on their lore bible yet for those two, but it's on the cards. It's on the agenda to do that, to give them a little profile as well. And what we can say is hero walks into the inn. I'm just going to place the boxes messily for now. I say that, but I'll probably be trying to get them looking good. Loving the braids, thank you, Kung. It's been a while since I've had my braids, actually. I washed my hair just before stream and it was all wet, so it's the easiest hairstyle to do, you know, when you've got wet hair. And then when you take them out, your hair's all wavy. Super nice. How you doing then, Kung? I hope you're having a lovely day. Okay, so we need to refresh ourselves on Nigel dialogue, and to be honest, I don't know if anyone here remembers the little scene with Nigel. I don't know if anyone even knows what was said, actually, because it was the very early days. Okay, so I'm gonna have to open the old project file to get this dialogue. So I have officially not got it anywhere else, because I was a noob back in the day, big noob, who literally just wrote the dialogue straight into the RPG Maker editor engine instead of writing it up on a doc or somewhere like this first. Okay. It almost makes me it's painful for me to look at the old project file now. It's almost painful. I look forward to not having to go back into it ever again, because it's very disorganised. I also kind of want to comment my code in the new project file, because although it makes sense to me now, because I've done everything in such an organised way, it might not make sense to me in a few months down the road. Imagine if I had a little break and then I came back and I didn't have a clue what it all was. So I'm probably going to comment the code at some point as well, just so I can remember. And I do tend to comment the scenes, but I want to actually comment it all properly. I'm going to get proper organised. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy Nigel Buckingham's dialogue and hope that it doesn't change the text format and be a butt face. Thank you. It did mess the text up. Leaving your future self notes is always a good idea. Yeah, I'm going to get super like descriptive and be like, this is like this because that, and this is this. Because sometimes you do things a certain way, and because you have to for the game to look right, but it can be quite complicated, and then months down the line you're like, I've completely forgot why that's there. So I'm going to try and get into that habit. Hi Oracle, how you doing? I'm here lurking, just wanted to say hi. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in and lurking. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Look at all you guys walking across. Okay, so we're gonna get Nigel's dialogue down, everybody, and feel free to give your thoughts. We'll have a chat about the scene and Nigel as we get it in, because now is going to be the opportunity to talk about this scene and anything that we feel is a bit needs a change. Now is the time, because then once it's done, it's done. I mean, I say that, but if there's ever a time when a playable build comes out and you guys are playing it and we're doing testing and things do need a change and it'll make the game better, then of course it's going to get changed. But the scene itself isn't going to be like really talked about much more after this stream, probably, because I'll probably make it my goal to get it implemented before next stream. Okay. So the next bit. Alright, now this was an interesting thing with Nigel that we did. Hang on, I'm going to just put this text box here as a template. And we might have, yeah, we probably will have to change this now actually, and I'll explain why in a sec. Okay. So based on what your gender was, originally he'd either call you Sir or Madame because it was part of his quirk and way of speaking to be like this super polite, timid guy who'd like address everybody by titles. That's kind of his way of speaking. Like he'd be like, he'll stutter a lot and he'll call people like polite names. But the thing is now we have a non-binary gender choice now. It's not just about Sir or Madame, so it kind of will probably need an alteration because of that. I'm trying to think how, because I wouldn't like to sacrifice his unique polite quirk, but I'm thinking if there's a more gender neutral way of approaching that actually. I'm gonna go on the Google dictionary. Okay, so I'll cross the Twitter off. I'll just get up a few of these, see what these articles say. I actually thought that icon there for a minute was the Streamlabs icon. Just shows how much Streamlabs has taken over my life. Okay, so we got some here. Buddy is far too friendly for Nigel. He's got to be, is this polite, super polite, timid person. So I'm not sure if any of those fit actually. Yeah. Andy Cake, thank you so much for that sub. 17 months, my goodness, Andy Cake. Look at you, let's have some hype for that. Huge amount of months and support. How are you doing, Andy? Good to see you. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Thank you so much for that sub. Zexy said, a number of or you just have third gender pronoun they as a singular pronoun is also grammatically correct, though you found a list of options, so never mind. Okay, yeah, what it is, like, the easiest thing to handle, Nigel, would be to just get rid of the sir and madam part, and then we wouldn't have to deal with the whole gender issue that we've got right now with this character. But I feel like it takes something away from him if we just get rid of the title. So it'd be really cool to replace it with something that was gender neutral. There was a list here, but I'm not sure if any of those fit with Nigel's character. Buddy, pal are a bit too casual sounding for him. But I've got rid of the sir there and just put it as I need your help. My little sister hasn't come home. Yeah, I mean, it's if we have to have it like that, we do. I mean, in this particular thread, people are saying, you know, you can just get rid of the title and just not have it at all, which, as we say, is an option, but it kind of takes something away from him and his ridiculous amount of unnecessary politeness that the character has. It's a part of his quirk and character to be like using titles. So if we can find a title that's gender neutral, that'd be great. It's kind of what I'm looking for with the research here. Thank you for the hype, everybody, as well. Can't you put in something to code it to pick the gender from a database? Yeah, it can totally do that. I mean, we did that before with the sir, madam. We just have a variable, and it based on if you was male or female, it would say sir or madam. But because we've got non-binary now, what would be the title that they'd use for that? Because I'm ignorant here. I need a bit of education, guys. This is why I'm looking here, so I can find out. Because it's sir is obviously for males and for men, and man would be for women. But yeah, it's the gender neutral thing here. Honoured guest. That's very polite. And I think that could, something like that could definitely fit Nigel. Would it sound a bit too over the top, do you reckon? But it's, he definitely, I see him as a quirk. His quirk would be to be extra polite. To kind of, who knows why he's polite. Maybe it's a cover, or maybe he's just so insecure and lacks confidence and gets nervous and wants to impress. There's a number of reasons he could be like that, but I think it's definitely him. I just came home, thank you. You're welcome. Are you a sleepy one now, Andy? MX's one. You could use a nesting conditional branch, enable else, have it check the variable that determines gender. Yeah, that is 100% what I did before anyway, so that's not an issue. It's literally just the gender neutral thing that is the thing here, because we need something for the for they, if your pronouns are they or them. But you, MXC, I'm a massive noob and I didn't even know that. It is a good question. I like finding out this stuff. But then again, we can approach it how, like National said, and just call them honoured guest or something similar. That would be the easiest non-gender solution for a title. What are you guys thinking there? Because we've got MX, but it's, you know, I think to me it would make more sense to completely just remove any gender specific titles and keep everything gender neutral, just for ease. Allow the player to set a pronoun at character creation. Yeah, they will be doing that, Asriel. So it would be, it's super easy, you know, if the dialogue's saying he, she, they, easy peasy, because whatever you put in character creator will register that. But when a character uses like fancy titles that could be a gender specific thing, that's when it gets complicated. So I think it makes more sense just to remove anything that's sir or madame or anything like that, and just pick something gender neutral, like honoured adventurer or honoured guest or something like that is perfect. Be nice to use the honoured guest for one for a conditional on the other option, and I've seen sir with a Y, but it's a reference for knight specifically. Yeah, for sure. And the sir thing, yeah, like you say, it can be for knights, and then it's a bit misleading. All genders are adventurers, yeah, but they're people who are very polite and use some sort of title. We can totally, you know, rack our brains, even if it's not now but in the future, and think of gender neutral titles. You know, you gotta just be a bit creative. If you were saying Miss and Mr, then I would vote for MX, because you're using 4 words. I think honoured guest flows best. Yeah, and I think something like that fits Nigel. Guest, because you're going into the inn. You know, honoured adventurer could work too. I guess both could work depending on the context. Totally. You don't even need a gender selection character. Let them enter a name and design their character. Yeah, we've already done the character creation. It's a recent update to how it was before. It used to be male or female, but now it is pronouns. Or I've forgotten now. If you look at the trailer, you'll see it on there, but it also asks more of a body type rather than your gender as well. But, you know, the gender there, and that it's got, you know, non-binary in that, it's there because it'll help with pronouns for knowing if you're going to call them a she, he, or they. Because there'll be many times in the story that NPCs are going to refer to you as a she, he, or they. So that sort of important. Let me have a pee and boo-boos. Thank you for the follow. Mon, I appreciate that. Diggy Mon. My pronoun is the well done. Can you accommodate that? I can, meat chops, because you can select other as a pronoun as well. Look, I'm going to show you actually, because we have RPG Maker up before we carry on. But we probably could go for honoured guest, I say. That could definitely work. We'll just replace the tile with that. So, here it is. Oh, crying out loud. Let's fix that, damn it. Yeah, I can't show you at the moment, folks, because I've got my old playable build up and the starting point is in the middle of the game, and it's going to take too much time for me to just do that now, just for showing you. But just to clarify things, you can either select male, female, non-binary, or other. And when you select other, you can literally type in whatever you want in that box. So yes, meat chops, you can be the well done. And I'm assuming there'll be somewhere on the main menu, like a profile section, where it's got the one you picked. I'm Batman. I want elf ears and tentacles. You can have elf ears. You can be an elf in this game. Hi Sangi, how you doing? It's good to see you. You can, yeah, you can. I wanted the other there just because sometimes people might want to be something else entirely. You know, sometimes people don't want to be restricted just to the 3 genders either. So rather than having a massive long list of all these different potential genders, you could have, I just thought, yeah, other, so that people can type in whatever they want if they don't feel that fit the male, female, or non-binary one. I can, yeah, I like that, yay. Or just name the character, or just a newbie. Nigel could say hello. MX name a character. Yeah, Nigel wouldn't know our name, remember, especially if we unless we've told him, because we're kind of going with the realistic thing of like you'll only know their name if they've told you or you've learned it from someone. It's a little bit more challenging, of course, but I've always personally been thrown when a stranger knows who you are when they're not meant to actually know your name. It's not like you got a name badge on you. But yeah, of course, if an NPC does know your name, and say if Nigel did, then we could have done that. But he'd probably just refer to you as yeah. Yeah, because you're never going to make a list that makes everyone happy, exactly. Because people will be like, oh no, but I want it to be a sheep. Oh, why can I only be these 3 genders? I want to be a helicopter. I want to be a baboon. I want to be a pillow. I want to be a cupboard. People would just like, so I was like, yeah, I'll put all of that. What is Nigel's job? Is he a shopkeeper? If so, respected customer. He's an innkeeper. Well, the sister is really the innkeeper, but yeah, he's the one who's in the inn at the time. So, I'd say honoured guest because guest fits in more than customer for me. Guest is the better choice, but yes, perfect if he was a shopkeeper, that one. Right, so I guess the question is now, what sounds better? I'm going to put 2 dialogue boxes here now. We'll just get that out of the way. So we could either say which way around does it sound better? Or we could even begin it with hello, honoured guest, or some kind of greeting if we wanted. What has the better flow to it, do you reckon, chat? Also, I'm doing the British way of spelling, which has a U in honoured. I know the American way is to not have that, but because I'm a British creator and I'm going to be consistent with the writing, and we'll use British noises, sorry. It's because there's a Hoover, and I said noises because there's a noise. I'm saying British words. Sorry, give me a minute, guys. Can you hear that over in the background? I'm curious if you can, because I want to know how good my mic is at picking these noises up. British noise. I think it's stopped anyway now. I find it easier to handle these situations by just doing what's best and more true to my vision than if someone makes a suggestion or request working around it. Yeah, sort of 100% right. Like, you're not gonna satisfy everybody, and you'll drive yourself insane by trying to shape your game to please everybody, and that is definitely not something I'll be doing. This is a community project, as we know, but that doesn't mean that I've got to bend to all the community's will either. So everything I decide to do is because I feel it's the best design decision, which is why we went for the gender change in the new custom hero cred, because I truly felt that was a good move. And other just means that people can be flexible if they wish with what they choose. You're Hungarian, I am. I'm secretly Hungarian, not British. Cookies are going to be biscuits in this game. I'll be so lost. Cookies are still a British thing, guys. We do have cookies here. Honoured colours are my favourite colours. I really do think honoured looks really weird with a U, in all honesty. But I have to be British, because otherwise we just have the risk of some words having U's in them and others having no, and it'll just be an inconsistent mess. So I'll be strict with myself just to stick with the British way of spelling. Just have the people in this fantasy world would say Magister instead of Mr. Master, Maestro, Maester, etc. Yeah, well, whatever we decide, you know, there'll be many opportunities to get specific with lore names for Raindrop Chronicles. We just don't know what many of them are going to be at this point. Language of my computer on English UK. Imagine using Japanese France as a language. Magister is usually given to scholars. I mean, the good thing about fantasy is we can make all up whatever the hell we want, you know, for whatever we feel fits, and it don't matter because it's fantasy. We can call a magister a blah blah if we want. Not that we would, but you get my point. Okay, so did anybody say what sounded best out of these two? Because let's think of that. I need your help, honoured guest. My little sister hasn't come home. I'm trying to talk in posh Nigel voice now. Honoured guest, I need your help. My little sister hasn't come home. He'd talk like that. I can't do accents well, so don't laugh, okay? But yeah, I'd say he'd be a bit of a... you know, Rose, in that vein of thinking, you can come up with your own titles that aren't related to our reality here. We can come up with them. Don't count on me to do it all, because I'm gonna get confused and be like, I'm indecisive. But whenever we do come up with them, the good thing is we can add it to our lore Bible, because we got a lore Bible now, and then we can set it in stone. So if we're like, okay, so this is going to be the word for a so-and-so, we can like note it in a section on our lore Bible so that we can forever remember. Same as regular titles, yeah. So, but that's the thing with fantasy, like it's a fantasy world. We don't have to be like, oh my god, it has to be this. It has to be what it is on planet Earth 100%. Because no, we don't. I mean, if we want to, we can, but it's not a rule, is it? So we're allowed to be creative if we want to be. Okay, I personally think the first one sounds better. Now, if you disagree, feel free to say, but I think that had a better fly. Okay. Now, I think... yeah, this is an expert. So I'm going to just get Nigel's dialogue. Actually, just delete that. Here we go. Here it is. I'm going to get all of Nigel's dialogue put up in this flyer we've got here, so all of us can see what this scene is going to be like, what the dialogue is going to be like in the scene. And, you know, there's an opportunity to add something really cool, something to potentially give us a lore tidbit or potentially give us a hint for a side quest or some foreshadowing later on, then I'm all for that as well. But the scene as it is right now, looking at what's in the event editor right now, completely works, but you know, I'm always for adding a bit of extra if it works as well. So feel free to give your thoughts about the scene as we do it, folks. Another thought, in order to get rid of the titles problem for various genders, have a quest at a point in the game that gives the PC a title, and you can just use that through the game for PC no matter the gender. That's a good idea to slot it into. Like if you do something, then he gets a title. You know, I'm going to copy and paste that because you never know if we get the opportunity. And it's not like every NPC in the world is going to be calling us titles. It kind of just depends on the character, and it just so happens that Nigel is a super polite guy. He's very like, oh, want to impress all the guests. So it worked for him to use titles, but not every NPC necessarily would. I mean, Fiona, his sister, wouldn't. I have no strong opinions either way. First one works fine for me, fan. Yay! It's kind of interesting to look at how titles were historically divided as a point of comparison though. So your made up titles feel similarly derived from the setting's history, but that seems involved enough that I should put it in the Discord. Yeah. I think taking inspiration is a good thing, but it also doesn't hurt to like slightly adjust it. Like for example, Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, they, instead of using Sir, S-I-R for a knight, they had Sir with an E, S-E-R. Like so little subtle adjustments like that, just so it's to show it's a fantasy world that isn't planet Earth sometimes can work. I'm a fan of that. So it's not too far removed from the real tile, but still has that little twist, fantasy twist on it as well. Have you gotten more British since last year? When have I never been British, Andy Cake? When have I never had a strong British accent? I don't remember this day. So 100% folks, we're going to get all this Nigel dialogue in Draw.io before the end of the stream, because I'd love to see together as a community what we all think of this scene, and then when I implement it, we'll know it's perfect. I just thought governor is a pretty good gender neutral term of honour. Governor, yeah. It again depends on the context and who it's been said to and what they do. In terms of what we got here, guest, I can't see us getting a better word. I think for an innkeeper, guests are guests, aren't they? Okay, so the next bit is, I've been going crazy standing here, but I try to find this myself, but I can't leave this in unattended. So one thing I absolutely love and want to always do with our Raindrop Chronicles dialogue with NPCs and characters is make sure that every single NPC has their unique voice as much as possible, so that we avoid now in text only games this is even more important. More important than voice acted games, because you run the risk of every character sounding the same as each other otherwise. So for Nigel, you might already be able to see he uses a lot of exclamation marks. He's polite. There's going to be some stutters in his sentences sometimes, like but. So that's kind of his voice to kind of show that he is a nervous, timid, polite guy. And kind of gets a bit overexcited and panicky. Probably more panicky than excited, probably. But that's exactly what it is, okay. I'm interested in the Nigel character. We, of course, need to further develop him because we're going to meet him and his sister again in Main Quest 3 when we return to Lakefall. He's the quest giver of Main Quest 1 and his sister's the quest giver of Main Quest 2. And yeah, they're gonna potentially have a bigger part. We don't know how big. They might be gone completely after we hand the quest in, but I somehow don't think so. And there has been a little bit of discussion about Nigel and his sister. And it'll be interesting to talk about that. I want to make the profiles on the Lore Bible for them at some point. My tummy's rumbling. Okay, so the next bit that comes up is the hero and what he says, or she or they. It's not exactly a choice that gives you points though, this section isn't, it's more information. So it's kind of optional questions, that's what it's going to be, which you'll see in a minute. I'm just copying these for a template. Let's think about how to present this though. Let's get rid of these because they're not going to be there. We're not going to get... I mean, maybe some of these optional questions could give points, but I'm not sure if it's relevant completely. Also, I don't care if it looks a bit messy at the moment, folks. So if it overlaps other text, just ignore it for now. I'll tidy it up later. Oops. So that'd be hero. And the hero says... Okay, so the idea at the time, and it can always be adjusted if we feel it could be improved, but the kind of idea at the time of writing this quest was that there was optional questions. Oh yeah, here it is. In fact, we're better to copy and paste this section here. And you don't necessarily, as the player, have to, you know, use all these dialogue boxes with optional questions because they're optional. You're not forced to read them. But I kind of figured that the quest log, the quest journal, would reveal more information on the quest if you did sort of click the optional question. So say if you didn't bother asking Nigel these things, then you wouldn't have as much information in the quest log and you'd also know less stuff, which could potentially affect how things go in the quest. Don't try. Some games have selectable titles you can earn. Oh, which games do that? But yeah, a bit like how Van said about doing a quest that gives you a title. That would be definitely an interesting move. So I'm going to get these optional questions that the hero has. Where did she go? How long has she been missing? How old is she? Now, these were the questions we had so far. If anybody here at all thinks, oh, actually this question could be really good to ask, then feel free to throw it at me. How long has she been missing? Because don't forget, this dialogue scene here was done a very long time ago, so you never know. We might want to add or change things, only if it's for the better though. How old is she? Because, you know, missing person, you make sense that you'd want to know. This could be a pattern that continues throughout quests, so that we have more information if we want to know it. If we want to go with that sort of thing. We kind of did it here too, in a later dialogue with Fiona. Had some optional questions there. He could act as an introduction to the brave, wise, compassionate paths, with Nigel responding something like, that's a brave thing to say, that's a compassionate thing to say, etc. He could act as an introduction to the... Who we're referring to as he here? Now, Nigel. At this point, does the hero already know that she owns the inn? Nope. This is the first time we ever speak to anyone who isn't Carol. So what you see here, guys, it's scene 2. I hope you can see it big enough, because it's... There we go. So this is scene 2. So literally, this is the only dialogue we've had in the game. Other than this, unless you've spoken to NPCs and walked around, of course, before you decide to go into the inn. This is the scene that unlocks when you go into the inn. Now, there is always the chance that you as the player could walk through the Everbloom Forest and go to the lake where Fiona is before even talking to Nigel. That is totally doable, but you probably wouldn't learn much. You would probably be able to talk to Fiona, but you wouldn't, because you haven't got the knowledge that she's Nigel's sister at that time, the conversation wouldn't lead into anything. So, do you get what I mean? So really, you're not going to find out much about Fiona until you've spoken to Nigel. It might be a seamless sort of pointing out of the moral system. Yeah, I totally think that could be interesting as well. Because we haven't had much chance to discuss the moral system itself, and if it's going to go beyond just having this scale of compassionate, brave and wise. We don't know at this point whether this scale's going to be visible in the menu anywhere, or if it's going to be completely invisible and hidden, or if it's even going to reflect in the hero's facial expression potentially. That was something that crossed my mind at one point, which of course, because it's a custom hero, such a thing would be hard to pull off because we'd have to do multiple assets. But something like that could give a lot of make it more interesting, and I think Fable did something like that, where the hero looked more evil or more angelic based on if you went good or bad. So I think visual sort of indication that your morals are changing would be, I think that would be cool but ambitious. It couldn't be a stretch goal perhaps for us. I'd love to see you play Fable. Yeah, I played Fable 2 back in the day. I never played the original one though. It was a good one. But yeah, if Nigel was going to say something like that, where would it go? Because I don't actually think there is any time in this dialogue that will increase your compassion, bravery, etc. I think there's no part that does. I think the first time it does is when you actually push Fiona into the lake. That's the first time you lose compassion points. So maybe we could slot it in there, like when Fiona gets out the lake and is dripping with water when we're in the cabin together. She could be like, well, she I think she, from what I remember, I can't remember that dialogue exactly, I'd have to look back, but she gets really angry at you and calls you a name. So that kind of clues you in that you've took the asshole approach, compared to if you don't push her in the lake. Hi Radio, how you doing? It's good to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful Monday. But yes, you guys, like, we get all the dialogue put into Draw.io before we implement it into the game, so I think it's a good chance for us as a community to review it all easily. I like to take screenshots of it and pop it in the Discord as well, and I'm going to try and make sure I do that consistently, because if there's ever an opportunity to correct things or improve upon it, then we don't want to miss out there. So these are the optional questions. Now let's get the answers in. And I don't think there's much more conversation after this part, but there's a little bit more. Hi Marcus, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're having a good day. I'm doing good. I'm just getting peckish for my dinner now. How about you? It's been quite lovely. I missed a couple of streams completely and had to look. Kobe had a lovely Monday as well. Oh, no worries, Brady. You're a busy boy. We're all busy bees, aren't we? I think it's Bank Holiday Monday here today, so some people do have days off work, but I don't know if you guys across the pond do. You probably still have to go to work. Okay, so let's get the dialogue in for the answers to these questions, because I would absolutely love to expand on these questions and make them more in depth, because at the moment they're just like a simple sentence. But I'd love to like have a bit of foreshadowing thrown into these optional questions and some intriguing dialogue potentially. They're pretty plain as they are at the moment, but we'll get them down so we can all see. Oh no, it's changed the damn formatting. It does that randomly sometimes, so I'm gonna have to write this up myself. Maybe if I type it into Notepad though, it won't do that. No, it still does it. Right. She went to the Everbloom Vice to pick some flowers. So this stuff automatically, like this would make sense to go into the quest log if you ask this question. If you didn't, then it won't. But, you know, that would only benefit you if you had mini-maps and quest markers hidden. This kind of approach benefits people more who are playing the game blind without the quest markers and mini-map features on, because they'd have to go by knowledge then. Next Monday we're off. Love the holidays. Yay, I'm glad that you're going to get a day off. We all need them. I'm good, thank you. First time here. Yeah, I know, but I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you're doing good, Marcus. Does she go into the forest often? Oh yeah, that could be that would have to link off that one, wouldn't it? Haven't even thought about extra branches for optional questions. If we was going to have, I mean, that would be a good question to have if we was going to have Summit Super foreshadowy and awesome as an answer. I wouldn't want to add it just for the sake of extra dialogue. It's unnecessary. Because although we're dialogue driven, we're not going to be dialogue heavy. So yeah, if it's going to like have some really cool, interesting information, then yes. And I could see something like that would, because we could go as far as saying yes, Fiona visits the forest regularly, like she goes there so and so, and that could like hint at the fact that she's up to stuff in the forest, because we know that she's got Rose locked in a cabin and she's potentially had dealings with the fruits in the forest as well. So interesting. But things like this, like, in all honesty, because their character arcs, Nigel and Fiona's, aren't yet complete, and there's a lot of stuff that we have yet to find out in future main quests and side quests about them, we might have to add things like this at an extra date, like the foreshadowing things in the optional questions, once we become clearer of what their arc is. So it's like we're going backwards a bit then, and yeah, that could seem a bit like untidy, but because of the nature of what we do here and the fact that things are improvised, we sometimes don't really know what we're gonna put first, so we have to go back on ourselves and rewrite things in later. That's fine. There could be a repeating character or repeating NPC profession in each town that clues in players saying you're very brave, wise, compassionate, although it's a bit jokey. Yeah, something where like you're clued in on your morals, like even if it's not heavy-handed, even if we do it in a subtle way, could be pretty cool. I even thought having a fortune teller NPC could be interesting, that you know, you can get clued in on yourself a bit on that, in that kind of way too. Yeah, for sure, revisions are an important part of the design process. Yeah, like we're not gonna know all the perfect things to say in this optional question section about Nigel's sister right now. It's impossible when she's got an incomplete arc. Because at the moment there's still a lot of question marks there. We don't really know Fiona's intentions at this point, and whether she's totally innocent or whether she's been up to wrongdoings. This is all stuff that we're gonna, loose ends that we're gonna tie up in future main quest and NPC development, and that will be the point when we go back into this dialogue and add, amend and stuff. So even if we just got like a first draft version for now for the first playable build, that's fine, and in the future playable builds of episode 1 that we do between now and the release, things might get changed and stuff. That's how it's gonna go. No one's innocent. Indeed, it's always good to be skeptical. Fiona is secretly Blueberry in disguise. Oh my goodness. But yeah, there's been a bit of discussion in previous streams that Fiona is in league with the fruits, because why else would she ask the hero to sacrifice Rose to them, you know? Why would she do that if she doesn't even know who they are? She obviously knows of them, that's a fact. But then there's a few complexities and layers there, that it isn't Fiona herself that's in league with them, it's actually her brother Nigel. But Nigel doesn't want to be in league with them. He got himself in a mess, and the fruit basket actually belongs to Nigel. People thinks it belongs to the girl because it's a fruit basket, but really it belongs to the guy, and he's the one who actually owns that fruit basket that the fruits are in, and he's in this mess with them and doesn't want to be, and that's why he's all nervous all the time, and Fiona's having to get him out the mess. So that it was like one direction that people saw it going. So I can like sort of imagine us talking about this stuff, getting like sort of imaginary stories about where it could go, and getting a few different lists up, and eventually having a poll or something of what the one is going to be. But it's fun. The NPC and story stuff is going to be totally wild. I'm sure we're going to have lots of ideas and thoughts for that one. But that's just one. That's just one potential branch it could go. And it's one that I particularly like because it twists things. It does the subverting of expectations. Because no one would ever suspect Nigel, and it's a good way to bring him into it. Who knows? And there was even talk about him potentially being blackmailed by the fruits and being like sort of slave for them in some way and doing paintings for them. Because the fruits are also painters themselves, and maybe they wanted Nigel involved in their little business. Maybe Nigel's also a painter. We don't even know, but we have thought, we got to consider NPCs' hobbies as well. Nigel isn't just a drone who works in an inn all day. He's going to have hobbies too. And if we do an NPC daily routine thing, and he is a painter, maybe at some point you go off and see him paint, and then it all like makes sense why he was with the fruits, because he painted as well. Yeah, all those sort of things. We don't know if that's how it's going to go, because this is all just initial thoughts and ideas, but just the thought of it just gives more depth and excitement and more twists to the whole story. Layers are interesting, and tying everybody's stories together is also super interesting. Like making the characters connect. Because I imagine it like a spider web. I don't know if spider web's the right visual, but imagine all the NPCs together on like a sheet, their faces, their avatars, and they're all like, they all connect to each other like a spider web, like their relationships and interactions. They've all had some sort of link to each other. I like that, rather than them all being complete separate people that are like just randoms in a world with nothing to do with each other, because it makes more sense when there's links and connections. If they're all living together, they've got histories together and past together. So like a flow chart. Yeah, so at some point we're going to get all the current NPCs that are in the game on a big sheet together like this, and we're going to see, okay, so who's connected, who knows each other, so we can force links and relationships. Hello, hi Rex, how you doing? It's good to see you. And hi Turkey Samuels, how are you as well? How's it going, Kyla Sanson? Hope you're having a good Monday morning. Blackmail by the roots, lol. Yeah, that's what I mean. This is why Raindrop Chronicles is so wacky and quirky, because blackmail by fruits is the most bizarre thing. Like, Andy Keck's laughing at the idea because it's just so bonkers. But that's why it's funny, because Raindrop Chronicles has this twisted humour going with it. And imagine this Nigel guy being blackmailed by fruits. You think, oh my gosh, what a silly boy, what a stupid person you'd think, that he's being blackmailed by fruits. And his sister's a bit tougher. His sister's more of a badass kind of girl, and she's younger than him. She's like, 13? And he's older. He's the older brother, and it's like the genders have switched, because she's the tough one and he's the weak one. And it's kind of an interesting one. I always like that sort of trope, where it's not the damsel in distress and the tough guy. It's actually the other way around. It's the tough girl and the weak guy. That's what Nigel and Fiona are. And that's, I loved the idea of the fruit basket belonging to Nigel, because nobody would suspect that the man would own the basket. It would be the last idea. And it's got to belong to someone after all, because the fruit basket's not just appeared out of nowhere. This is the fun thing about building a world. And that gives me some ideas. I'll try to post a general ideas channel later. Of course, sexy. And I'm glad we got that channel there, even though, I might not respond to it. It's going to be something I'm going to answer to when we have that relevant stream. So, because you've said all these really cool things, and it's going to really pay off when we get get the chance to properly talk about and discuss the things. I'm good, we survived the hurricane, everyone's safe, minimal damage to houses. Still no power at my place of work, but got power at home. Oh no, where is it you based? Is it Texas? Because that was where the hurricane was, I believe, wasn't it? That was one of the places anyway. But I'm glad that you're okay. It sucks, honestly, like the damage that it does to the properties and your possessions is the most horrible thing. Oh yeah. Well, I hope everything's okay. Where I live, UK, we're in a part of the world where we're very fortunate not to have natural disasters. So, you know, my fullest sympathies, and I hope everything goes okay. I don't know what I'd do if I had to abandon my computer and all my stuff. I'd be devastated. It's really bad in some areas, but my family got really lucky. Well, that's nice. I'm glad that it was okay for you guys. Super glad. Okay, so Nigel's answered question. Still got plenty of time before the end of the stream. So the goal is to get all the dialogue in so you guys can see exactly what's in this scene, and then I can implement it off stream. And as we said, this dialogue works for a first playable build version. There could be more additions and foreshadowing inserted into this when we've gone through more playable builds and content. Because it's far too early right now to actually know what that foreshadowing is going to be. We don't know until we implement it. So right now we've got, she went to Everbloom Forest to pick some flowers. She said the lake near the cabin has the prettiest ones. So really what that does is tell us where the Fiona is, her location. So it just helps us as the player, if you're playing it blind without the mini-maps and quest markers, that is, it clues you in on her location. If you didn't ask that question, you'd never know. You'd just have to wander around until you happen to find her. But of course, if you do play the game with mini-map on and quest markers on, you don't even necessarily have to ask Nigel this, because the quality of live options in the game will lead you there. And everybody's different. In this community, it seems half-half. Some people adore playing with the mini-maps and quest markers on because they like to be guided and not get lost while questing, and other people are like, they want them off because they like the experience of questing and like uncovering things themselves and by asking questions to find things out from the NPCs. So it depends what your play style is, and I like that in Raindrop Chronicles we're going to have it both ways. In the options menu, you can choose to turn off that sort of extra deed stuff like the mini maps and quest markers if you prefer playing it the second way. So what about you guys? What is the way you like to play your RPGs? Because I'm super curious, because I've had people come in chat and say the different ones. That's why I said it's like a 50-50 it seems. It also tells us that she goes into the forest enough to know where the prettiest flowers are. Yeah, that's for sure. We know that that isn't the first time she's been there just from that. And it's not heavy-handed about it either. It's like you Exy have worked that out, but you had to like think, you know, it hasn't like been like, oh, she's been in that forest every single day. Like, that might be a bit heavy-handed if Nigel had said that, but by saying that, it like just hints subtly, and that style of writing I like. I'm like you, Rose, as you know. Yeah, Kunk likes the maps and the quest markers. I think it was Azriel. I'm calling out Azriel. How dare I? I think it was Azriel who said that he liked playing the game blind and prefers finding out stuff from the NPCs rather than seeing it from a quest marker. I think it was Azriel. Okay, and how long has she been missing? I definitely need to tidy this up because it's a big old mess. It's overlapping all this text up here, but for now we don't have the time to be tidying it up right now because I want to get it all in before the end of stream. So then the answer to the next question was, how long has she been missing? He said, okay, so I mean, if this needs changing, we will, because the time might not be 100% accurate, but this is just a base, a template. So 2 hours. I know that isn't very long, but the forest is dangerous. Babut's made an appearance again. Okay. It's going to be a meme. Nigel's the Babut guy. Bebut. It isn't very long, but the forest is dangerous. Have an exclamation mark because he panics. That's his style of voice. Yeah, so the reason I went for the 2 hours rather than have it be a bazillion hours and be a missing person case is because she isn't really a missing person. Fiona isn't. She has only been gone for a little bit. It's not that long, but this sentence was really for the purpose of showing that Nigel's a scaredy cat and can't cope on his own. He needs his sister there to protect him. She's there. She's his protector. He's nothing without her. And he's putting on this cover that, oh, I'm just worried about my sister because the forest is dangerous. But really, the sister is totally very able. She's not gonna get hurt, but he just wants the hero to think that's what it is because he don't want to admit he's a scaredy cat. And we also find out here that the forest is also dangerous, so it gives us a clue that this is an area of hostile enemies, which there will be, of course, because Everbloom Forest is where you'll be fighting your first enemies in the game. I like the idea of having no quest markers help, but when I used to work 60-80 hours a week, I just didn't have the energy for that. It just left me frustrated and annoyed. And I think this is why it's perfect that we have the option, because that way it's the best of both worlds for you guys, whatever you're in the mood for. Because people like Dexy says, you can change. You can be like, yeah, I want to have it all hidden, I want to play it blind without the quest markers, but then like you say, if you're busy and you get tired, you think screw this and you put them on. So I think that's gonna be great. And right now I haven't actually implemented the turning off and on in the options menu, but I did download a plugin and I tested it to see if it's going to be doable, and it is. So I'll just need that time to do that at some point. And of course, that is a plan. I want to have that options done before the first playable build as well. So I think once we've got all the scene implementation out the way, the options menu will be something I'll be doing and before the battle stuff. The battle stuff will be the last thing. Has become dangerous. It would show the change the forest is experienced. Oh my goodness, National, that is so smart, because that's true. That is a very key point. Everbloom Forest has only recently got dangerous because that was when things started coming to life. For those of you that know the lore, that have been looking at the lore Bible and have been in the streams, you'll know that that's kind of part of the plot here. There's sentient objects that aren't supposed to be alive have recently started coming to life since the spell. So we can imagine that it was probably fairly peaceful in regards of monsters and wildlife before this spell happened. But since the spell happened, yeah, there's toxic plants around and trees that are alive that shouldn't be, and flowers that shouldn't be alive. And of course, I'm sure they still had their bandits and their enemies. I mean, there was always the reptile conflict with the people. But in regards to wildlife, it was probably pretty chill. You could probably walk through the forest without fearing your life at one time or another. But now it's become dangerous, so... So, would you say has become is the best way? I think for sure showing that it's a recent development is a smart, clever thing for us to do, just to clue us in on some lore there, that it's only a recent development. Toxic plants are chill. Toxic plants are adorable. Nah, Stump is adorable though. I love Stumpy. Fuzzy, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. And now the last question, which is, how old is she? Okay, so she's not 13, she's actually 12. I think I wanted to make her a bit younger than a teen. So it feels even more badass that she's a child that can fight her brother's battles for him. If she was a teenager, it probably wouldn't be as badass. So the fact that she's not even a teenager yet makes it even more impressive. 12. She's the second youngest in the village. Now, we don't know whether it'll stay that way. There could be other younger people, NPCs we have in. We don't even know at this point. But at the time of writing this, and we had some template NPCs put in the village, there was only one that was younger, which was a little boy. So we'll keep it like that for now. But if we need to make amendments, we will in the future. So she's the second youngest village. I couldn't forgive myself if anything happened to her. Now, this, I can't think if there's anything else we could do to make that even more mysterious and interesting or revealing. But really it just gives us, really just tells us how old Fiona is and how that compares to the other NPCs living there and their ages. Uptime, Yanni, streaming for 3 hours. Dangerous character, that's just a barefoot trap that got brought to life. A barefoot trap, a sentient barefoot trap. How cute and charming is that? Let me just pop that in our notepad file. The forest is becoming more dangerous every day, shows that Nigel is prone to catastrophize, I can't speak, and also shows that the spell wasn't just a single event, but that it's been changing the forest over time. Yes, so, have you guys read the Lore Bible? So there is actually an article on this spell in case you want to read. It's very, very basic at the moment because there's the potential to really expand on this Lore Bible and these articles over time. But what we've got there for now, we've got something. We've actually got a timeline of the Barrel's lives, and we know that the spell happened just over a year ago. From in the past, just over a year in the past. I think it was 15 months, and the Barrels have been born every 3 months. A new generation of monsters, barrels, sentient objects, etc., fruits have been born. So Alvira and Hank were the first, maybe Lemon as well because he's the oldest fruit, and then we had Carol, Woody and Meryl, Pod of B, and then we had Oliver is the youngest of the sentient creatures, and probably Blueberry as well. And then since Oliver and Blueberry, there's not been any new generations, but there might it's a question mark whether any new ones will be born from them, because we haven't actually got far enough into the future to know whether any new ones have been born yet, but it's all pretty interesting. But yeah, let's see. So far we've got, but the forest has become dangerous, and Zexis says, but the forest is becoming more dangerous every day. Yeah, and that is technically true, because more are being brought to life every few months, more generations. So when the spell was first cast, there was probably only a very small amount of living sentient objects around, but it's getting more and more and more. So yeah, okay, so and as the player, a bit of intense tension is always a plus, and something like this just adds that bit of tension. Us as the player become curious, and we're like, oh, why is this forest dangerous? And we need that tension to want to continue the story, because without it, why would anyone want to continue? You've got to keep that tension going, and that, I think this here does a good job of making a bit of tension in the story. And I'm excited to do the dialogue with the NPCs, everybody. It's a little bit soon right now. I'd like to start that at some point in the fall, maybe even this month. Start thinking about what the NPC dialogue could be, but I love the idea of just expanding the lore further with that dialogue, like mentioning potentially, what about the things that are coming to life in a subtle way, just to hint at it, and for us to be like, well, hang on a minute, there was a living barrel here that we was in just a second ago. So that is probably true. There are probably things that are alive that shouldn't be. But we also need to ask the question, how much do the NPCs know? Do the NPCs, are they in denial about things being brought to life? Are they scared? Well, looking at Nigel, they are scared. He is anyway, because he's timid. So are they scared? Are they aware? Are they in denial? All these different things, and I'm sure different NPCs are different about it. Somebody like Fiona obviously doesn't care. It's not stopped her going into the forest, because she's a brave little girl. Others probably would never dream of going in the forest. So it's all very interesting, all very exciting. And thank you, Jack Mystic, for that follow, by the way. It's good to have you here. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so was there anything else? Right, so that's it for the optional questions for now. Whether we expand on those optional questions or add more in the future, we might. For now, these work fine for the build and story we've built so far and what we know. So we'll leave it at that, and I'll tidy up that later probably. And let's get the rest of the conversation in, which is just 4 more boxes of conversation. So it's not too long, it doesn't ramble on for too long. It's like we'll get the quest at the end of this and we can carry on with our day. So he says, what he says now is he just closes off the conversation. He introduces himself. He says, oh, how rude of me. My name is Nigel Buckington. And of course we needed to know that, because until then we don't even know the quest giver's name, so it's our way of inserting. Introductions are obviously something we'll have to do with every NPC, considering we're going with the whole realistic approach of not knowing their name until they tell you. That's why we don't actually know Carol the Barrel's name, Carol, until we watch her flashback scene. She's just a barrel until that point. But of course we want to be creative and make sure that the dialogue is varied and exciting with the introductions. We don't want it to be bland and be like, my name is blah blah, my name is blah blah, like they're all robots. We want to have their introductions be very quirky and unique to them. And Nigel being apologetic and being like, oh, how rude of me, kind of fits with his whole polite sort of persona for introducing himself, because he's apologising for not saying sooner. My name is Nigel Bookington. And then he says his sister's name. So, I mean, that sort of stuff could have been added to the optional questions. What's your sister's name? But I feel like that's information we have to know, because it kind of becomes a problem when we don't even know the name of the character that we're talking to next. So certain things we're going to make forced knowledge, but then it's always very, very interesting to have the optional knowledge as well with certain things. So my little sister is called Fiona. And then he says, you can, okay. Right, so at the time I had, you can sleep here for free if you bring my little sister home. I'd be ever so grateful. Now, I don't know whether sleeping there for free should be the reward, in all honesty, because, you know, you can just have potions. Why would we want to recover our HP at the inn when we could use potions? And I mean, we could just sleep on a hammock if we want, but I suppose they'd all be used up by the residents of Lakefall, the hammocks, because we're going to totally have hammocks. I'm already in love with the idea. So I don't know whether sleeping there for free is really the best reward Nigel could give. I am more tempted to have him make some really big promises to the hero and be like, we'll give you the best thing ever if you bring my sister back. And that creates a bit of like, oh, what's this best thing ever in the player's mind. And then he's made such a big promise that when we come back to Lakefall after the fruits boss to hand in the quest, that we'll want this big reward. And Fiona's like, what do you mean? What, we're not giving them anything, especially if she's mad at us already for pushing her into the lake. Because if you go for the pushing in the lake option, she is going to have a really, really nasty attitude with you when you come back to Lakefall. And also she's going to be even more mad at you if you blatantly bring Rose back into Lakefall as well, because from what we've discussed so far, I think we're going to have the option of either you're hiding Rose inside Carol so that the Lakefall residents don't assume you've sacrificed to the fruits, and they'll be less scared then when the vampire doesn't come into the village. But then you might also have the option of just ignoring that and being like, yeah, Rose just come into Lakefall, so the vampire roams the village like very no fears at all, just walked right in. Fiona would see and she'd be like, what, why is she alive? And yeah, chances are that's not going to go down well, but it would be interesting if you took that option of being that bold. Did the program freeze up? I remember that was a problem before. Oh, I think we're okay. The FPS drops don't seem as severe as they did last week. We did a test play earlier and it seemed a lot smoother. Hopefully it's okay on your end, National Mars. Did it do a bit of lag or a bit of a crash? Is it okay on everyone else's end? Because sleeping monsters restore HP and MP and potions cost money. True. I mean, it's true, Zexy. Sleeping at the inn probably for free is a nice reward, but I don't know whether it's amazing enough of a reward, is the question. So, I'm thinking of putting something like... So at the moment is you can sleep here for free. If you bring my little sister home, let's get that down. I'd be ever so grateful. Honoured, should we say honoured guest again? Because we've only ever used that once, and that was meant to be a replacement for Sir and Madame. So that's how it is at the moment, but I'm thinking of just altering. I mean, the reward might still be sleep here for free, but I like the idea of making that reward a mystery, just so, because it's more interesting that way when we're wondering what our possible reward could be. So I'll give you now. I don't know if that should be the line. We could maybe think of better than best reward ever. That's a bit bland, but you get the picture. I'll give you the best reward ever if you bring my little sister home. I'll be ever so grateful. Honoured guest, something like that. It's just that the dialogue hasn't changed or moved. Oh my goodness me. Okay, what it is, National, thanks for pointing it out. I sometimes don't notice this, but sometimes this isn't a fault on this is nothing to do with lag or freezing. This is OBS's fault. What happens is, and this is very rare when this happens, the window capture decides to not update. It happens 10% of the time. Most of the time it happens absolutely fine, but it really is annoying when it does happen. So I'm gonna have to, there we go, it's there now. But yeah, sometimes I don't notice because I get so into writing it and I'm like, oh my goodness, it hasn't updated. There we go. So now you can see it updated, everybody. Hopefully you can see now what the dialogue is. Not going to lie, if it were me, I'd charge something like 3,000 raindrops a night. But if you say my sister, I'll discount it down to 50 raindrops. Then later you find out that it's really only supposed to cost 10 raindrops. It's fine now. Yay, Fuzzy, glad to hear it. Yeah, I think something like that would work. I'm just thinking, would it even be Nigel's personality to be so smart, so business smart? Because you'd have to be a bit gutsy and a little bit very strong in character to say something like that. I could imagine his sister being more as that kind of person. Because there's a bit of business savvy there with that kind of approach. And I think Nigel's a big old scaredy cat and he actually has no clue in regards to business or how to run the inn. He's a literal disaster and he relies on his sister to do everything for him. So I could imagine him making all these false promises, and then when we get back you're like, where's my big reward then? And the sister's like, oh, what? So I mean, that's just a starting point. I like your ideas, Exy. I'm just thinking Nigel as a character and the kind of coward he is might not have the guts to be so like that. So but I do like it, and I think if we ever meet a really smart merchant in the future or a smart innkeeper, it would be I think it would be a good thing for somebody like that. So I think I want to make a habit of doing that, because it's going to happen a lot. You guys are going to give some really cool ideas and NPC dialogue lines, and I'm going to think that's great, but yeah, maybe for another NPC with a different personality. So that will be going into my Google Doc massive list of dialogue ideas and thoughts. So for now we'll have it like that. I mean, I think the best reward ever is a little bit immature sounding. I don't know if we can think of something a bit more grown up and posh with Nigel's tone of voice a bit more. But that was just the first thing that came to mind. We can always make an alteration of that later. Putting the honorific before the statement like before sounds good. Honoured guest, I'd be ever so grateful. Yeah, did we have it like that? Let's have a look. Yeah, I changed, like before, I had two ideas. I had honoured guest, I need your help. But then I changed it to after because the flow seemed to work. But it could go either way, in all honesty, so. Part of me is even wondering whether it's even worth having it there a second time, because I don't want to like be too like, I don't want it to sound forced or unnatural to too much of an extent. But I definitely like it being there on the first line. It's all just opinion and preference. But if you guys liked it there, then tell me and I'll put it back, because I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. Could leave it up to his sister as say much. The best prize ever. Yeah, I think prize would work if it was like a competition for sure. I'm wondering if reward is the best word though. I'm not sure if reward is the best either. But it would, because you've done him a good service, help look for his sister, I guess. So. Yeah, it's more the word ever I'm not sure about, because there's something very childlike about saying the best reward ever, do you know what I mean? I feel like Nigel would be a little bit more posh. I don't know if posh is the word. More like very older in his speech, I suppose. But I can't think right now of the sort of lineage used. Oh, you're actually asking the question. Oh, right. Well, we don't know yet, right? That's the thing. It allows us to actually think what that could be. It creates a bit of mystery, you know. Could leave it up to his sister and say as much. I will give you good compensation. See, that actually works. I mean, I'm not sure about good, maybe that's too mild, but I love the word compensation. I think that's very Nigel. I can't even spell. Oh, no, don't do that to the lines. Compensation. There we go. Not compensation. So, I'll give you, I'm thinking something stronger than good. Something that makes you think, whoa, we're really going to get compensated for this. Like, yeah, I think 100% Van for Nigel compensation is something that would come out of his mouth. It's all what you imagine the character saying, you know. For somebody younger and a little bit not as with as good a vocabulary, it would probably say best or whatever. But yeah, this is very Nigel. If you bring my sister. Okay, a grandiose reward. Yeah. That's a good word. I think I've butchered the pronunciation. I don't even know, but that is a very like Nigel word as well. Sexy, but it probably wouldn't work as that with compensation. So it's all about, because that word probably sounds better with a more simple word following it. So, I think I'm going more for Zex's suggestion simply because it feels more of a big deal. It's like, whoa. Because if we get the definition of that word up, let's have a look. I do love compensation though, but I wasn't sure whether good was like strong enough. But with that word, it's like impressive, grand, imposing. Yeah, that it's very like over the top. It's very over the top, isn't it? That, which fits again Nigel, making all these over the top promises. Also, there's a typo there. I'm thinking of changing that though to her, bring her home, because we've already said there my little sister, and I think we've been a bit repetitive if we say my little sister again. So because we've mentioned during the previous dialogue box, we can just shorten that, make it a bit more concise in that one. Because people don't speak like that. They don't say my little sister all the time, do they? Once they've said it once, they'll say her instead. Yeah, so either way could have worked, guys. It's preference at this point. Both suggestions are fine. I think I'm going for this one because it's more of an, it brings in more of an over the top sort of feel to the character, which I think fits for Nigel. Because he comes across as that kind of guy. He's very over the top polite, very nervous, very making promises sort of person. So I think it was a close one. Both are great, but it just kind of enhances his character a bit more, I think, that particular dialogue line. Compensation sounds more like innkeeper then. That is a good point, actually. It does sound more innkeeper to say compensation. In all honesty, if we could think of an over-the-top Nigel-like word to go before compensation, I'd be sold. I don't know whether that worked. Like, if we replace reward with compensation here, does that have the same flow to it? I'm not sure if it does. I'm not sure if that works together. That's the thing. But do you know what I mean? There's something, like you say, it's an option to just say that, but it feels empty without that over the top word with it to me. It feels lacking. Nigel should be very like, oh, I'm going to give you all the best things ever if you bring her back. Like, very trying to tempt you to do it by being over the top sort of thing. To me at least, but I've no strong opinion. What about our family treasure? Whoa, that would be a big promise, wouldn't it? If he says, I'll give you our family treasure. Fiona would literally chop his head off if he did that. But interesting. I like the idea because it makes you think, well, what's the family treasure? At the same time, keeping it probably less specific is probably smart at this point so that we don't get like put into any boxes too early on of what that reward could be. Fuzzy likes reward better. Bounty could work for a bounty hunter, I guess. Not sure about an innkeeper though. The fullest compensation will be yours if only you bring her home safely. Fullest could work with compensation for sure. That combination could fit more than Grandoys. Don't even know if I'm saying that word right. If you want to use something in exchange for goods, you could use reciprocity. That sounds like something Drew Carey would say on The Price is Right, yeah? Which is a mutual exchange. It fits well because Nigel is exchanging something for the PC services. Okay, so yeah, it seems like we're split here, so it's all going to just be what's going to work best at this point. I like National's idea. but the first part of it, I'm not sure about if only you bring home savvy, because that sounds like somebody who's very strong with what they want more, but the I'd be ever so grateful is very Nigel. So I mean, yeah, we don't want to get too carried away, guys. We don't want to bring in too many more options. It's either going to be between reward or compensation at this point, I think. Because, I mean, if we're going to use any of the others suggested, it's not that they're bad, but it's, again, trying to think of combinations of words that go with them. And for me, what I want to do with this dialogue box is make it over the top. Nigel making like a very, very big promise here. It's more about that than the actual word compensation or reward. It's more about the word that goes before it. Because he's got to sound like he's like, mate, this is a big deal. I'll give you the best thing ever for doing this for me. Because then that sets things up later for some really the player expecting this big reward when he gets back. The reward is better because it's more accessible. What is the target audience and range here? Not for children is probably what we're saying here, because the themes in this game are going to be far too heavy and mature for kids. And we don't want to limit ourselves. I cannot write for children, let's be honest. So this is a game for our older teenagers or adults, I'd say. I mean, we got a romance system in place. There's going to be mature themes once you introduce a romance kind of thing. So yeah, don't worry about it being accessible, because we're not targeting young people here. At the end of the day, we can use fancy language. This character Nigel here is quite studious and bookish. That's why his name's Bookington, by the way. That's why we called him Nigel Bookington, because he's a bit of a book nerd. He has a good vocabulary, so using fancy words for him, being this overly polite guy who uses fancy words, is definitely in the character. So I'm very inclined to go with those words more because they fit for Nigel. But it's just that that combination of those two don't flow very well. Grandiose reward or fullest compensation fit better. But welcome to the stream, River. It's good to have you here. Ages 65 to 80 plus. Yeah, we're all grannies here. Here's some of our options for compensation: hefty compensation or hefty reward. Fabulous rewards. Yeah, I like hefty. Yeah, okay then. So we'll do that. I love that word though that Zexy said, and maybe it can make an appearance with Nigel with another dialogue box, because there's something very Nigel that's about it to me. But I do see where you guys are coming from with the compensation. I think that fits with the whole in line of work, rather than reward, which is more for if you're an adventurer, I suppose. Well, you know, someone who's given an adventure an actual task rather than an innkeeper. Hefty compensation has a nice flow. I'll give you hefty compensation if you bring her home. I'd be ever so grateful. Okay, so how does that sound? No typos there. It's all there. We're all good there. And I think we looked through... I mean, we spent a lot of time on that dialogue box more than anything else, but I think it's well worth doing that for dialogue, because dialogue is so important, guys. It can make or break a game. So, you know, it's a good thing to discuss. Main thing is we're keeping character when it comes to dialogue decisions, and that they're not acting out a character. We gotta always be in their head. So everything Nigel says, we gotta be in the point of view of a very overly polite, very nervy, cowardly kind of guy. And we had some really cool ideas of what innkeepers or people like that could say that were the more confident type, and I've put that in my notepad file because it could be great for the future for another NPC that's more of a confident version of Nigel. Grandiose reward seems a bigger shoe than a man can fill if we want him to seem silly. Yeah, I know, there was an appeal about it, National, because there was something nice. I think it's the silliness of that word and its over the topness that kind of drew me to it. So it's a subjective thing, isn't it? Chat, I'm going with what the majority seem to go for, and it seems that people are like this one. So we'll stick with that unless people have a change of heart and they're like, actually no. And all of chat says that right now, then I'd consider the change, but if not, we'll keep it as this. I love it, yay. I love dialogue stuff, it's fun, and I'm glad that we spent time today on this, because I might change the title of the stream for the VOD into a dialogue stream, because that's more what it has been, rather than doing the interiors like it says currently. But we needed to do it because the last time we did this Nigel dialogue was absolutely ages ago, so it was good to refresh ourselves on this particular scene. And I'm going to work on implementing it between now and next stream, and then we can do a test play of it and see it in game, this Nigel dialogue. And I'll work on the interiors between now and then, get them looking a bit tidier because they're very empty at the moment. And then it will be just working on the rest of the scenes and implementing them. So at some point we'll be looking back at the cabin scene with Rose and Fiona and looking at that and seeing how that all is, because it's been a while since we've revisited that as well. Okay guys, so remember this dialogue that we've got here, this is just for the first playable build. Things could slightly be altered between now and then, well, between the release of the playable build and the actual release of episode 1, because there has been a bit of discussion about expanding the optional questions section for more foreshadowing, but at this point it's almost impossible to do that when we don't know how the character arcs are gonna all end. So that would be something we'd add once we know. But thanks for hanging out, guys. I've gone over time, haven't I? And Van, we must mention as well, Van is the top of the leaderboard for this month because it's the last stream in August today, which means the last stream of every month we get a new Lawmaster. So Van is going to get the special Lawmaster role in the Discord. I'm going to do that when I get back from my dinner. I'd do it now if it wasn't so late, because we've gone 20 minutes over time. So when we get back tomorrow, when we return tomorrow, this leaderboard will be completely cleared. We're starting from nil again, which means that there's a chance for someone else to potentially be the Lawmaster next month. We'll soon see, won't we? Have a good day, Rose. See you next month. I know it's in September tomorrow. My goodness me. What colour am I going to be? I'm thinking something that stands out. So it's probably going to be a kind of goldish colour, probably between a yellow and an orange, because that's a very sort of law-based colour, I think. So maybe that. And that's a colour we haven't used for any of our roles either, so it'll stand out. And then when you speak in the Discord, you'll be a very shiny colour. Yay, orange. Okay guys, so I'm going to pass this on to somebody that's online. That'd be amazing. So I'll get the Everblue, I'll get Lakefall all up for you to look at, guys, while we look for somebody who's online. But thanks for hanging out, everyone. It's been a good stream, and it's cool revisiting all this early stuff. Okay, so Legmog's online. Legmog is doing some modelling artwork for his animation, which is really cool. Legmog is in Raindrop Chronicles, by the way, folks, as Rose's doppler, Rose's stalker, who looks completely like Rose, and I can see that popping up as a storyline at some point, probably not too far away, because whenever there's an opportunity to start the development of Rose's character arc, that lookalike copycat is going to probably make an appearance in the game. So we'll go over to their stream today, say hello to Legmog, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Have a great time. Looking forward to the next one, and looking forward to chatting with you about story stuff when you're ready to chat back. And yeah, of course, big exciting. Well, I did send you a DM. I don't know if you noticed that one, but yes, there's lots of stuff to chat about. Stream was awesome. TY, thank you, National. Thank you for everyone for the input. It was super cool. Had mentioned some really interesting things about the Nigel and Fiona stuff. So see you all on Wednesday, folks. Have a good one.